2024 meeting of the Kingston Planning Board. We have 3 public hearings tonight: C&J Leasing, 13 Danville Road in Drew Lane, and 9 New Boston Road. First, I'd like to introduce the people that are sitting here at the table. To my left is our town engineer, Dennis Quintel, followed by Planning Board Member Rob Tosolo, followed by Ghost of Planning Board Member Ben Romano, followed by Planning Board Member Peter Coffin. I'm Lynn Merrill. I chair the Planning Board. Beside me is Robin Carter, who is our Land Use Administrator, Elia Lesia, who is our Select Board Representative. It's going to be a long night. Robin Duguay, who is the Vice Chair of the Board, and Glenn Greenwood, who is our Town Planner. So for those of you who are new to coming to a Planning Board meeting, the procedure is as follows. First, we hear from the applicant. They give their presentation. Then the Planning Board will ask questions. We'll get input from our town engineer and our town planner. We'll read the comments from our town departments. Planning Board may then ask more questions. At that time, we open up the floor to members of the public for public comment period. When it's time for public comment period, what we would like to request that you do is to come and sit here in the front. You'll have one of these. Mine is green because I'm speaking. If I'm not speaking, it's red. Push the button, and we can all hear you. You need to give us your name and your address, and then make your remarks. When everyone has had an opportunity to speak, then we'll close public comment and continue with Planning Board discussion. And we'll do that for each of the 3 public hearings tonight. So, with that in mind, our first public hearing is the 3rd public hearing on CJ&J Leasing. Property owners Greg and Scott Dimitri, right? Yeah. 83 Route 125. It is tax map R10, lot 9, and the zone is commercial 3. And this is the 3rd public hearing on a site plan review application for a proposed project for a site development of approximately 7 acres of land on a 12-acre lot, which includes the conversion of a single-family residence and mostly undeveloped forested land into paved surfaces for outdoor inventory storage of refrigerated trailers leased by the applicant's business. The applicant is proposing to construct a new commercial building with trailer maintenance service areas and a leasing office, new private well and septic system, and a private fueling station, vehicle washing bay, and stormwater management systems to treat new impervious areas. Welcome.
I'm Cindy Terrio with Wilcox & Barton. We're the civil engineers on the project. To my right is
Wentworth, Dr. Garfield.
Thank you. And Greg.
Scott.
Welcome. We're the owners. As you said, we've been here before. I can just briefly go over the changes since we were here last, if that would be acceptable. And then we can answer questions or have more discussion. Thank you. So we've been working with the, this is, you can't see the, I need to unfreeze it. There we go, okay. Just to orient everyone, this is Route 125 here. This is West Shore Park Road here, and entrance to the facility is proposed to be off of Route 125. We've been working with the New Hampshire DOT through their permit process. They've asked us to make a few changes to the entrance, which included moving it a little bit further away from the West Shore Park Road. So we've done that, reoriented this parking area and this little area here in order to respond to them. We also received a septic system design, which we've placed in this triangular area here. So the grading has changed a bit. The groundwater is relatively high on the site. So, and we're in a cut situation where the building is, so it looks like it's raised. So it's basically, there's a little bit of a mound in the front yard there, which will be planted. And the top of it would be loam and seed. We also met with the abutters here to discuss whether or not they would support a waiver that we had requested to have less than the 50 feet of landscaped area. They were not thrilled with that. So what we had chatted with them about was offering a fence that goes along the property line here and here. So that's what we're proposing now. The dark green here depicts land that won't be modified by the construction. The lighter green would be loam and seed or planted, and I have a planting plan that I can go through in a little bit further detail. Those are the basic changes. The stormwater, what we ended up doing was going out and getting some infiltration testing for the stormwater system to make sure that it could handle the infiltration. And so as a result of that, the infiltration chambers for the stormwater management system shrunk and moved a little bit further north on the site. So that's where this is here. There's been a little bit of modification of the snow storage areas based on feedback that we received from the board and from the town engineer and the town planner. So now snow storage will be proposed for this area here, some around here, and then in general along the areas that will not be used for storage of the leased vehicles. There's your stormwater network, essentially. If you recall, there's also a vernal pool in the back that we have to protect 100 feet of that, so we're proposing that. Utilities, in case we're curious. And then this is the landscape plan that we had prepared. As you see, there's screening along Route 125 here. There's a more detailed planting plan for the area in front of the building. And then there'll be screened areas here and along basically the parking area that surrounds the site. This is proposed to meet the landscape standards. We believe it does. And at this point, we did receive comments from Dennis and Mr. Quintal. Close. Mr. Quintal, and also from Mr. Greenwood. Happy to go through those if you like. Sure. First I'll go through what I understand the comments are from Mr. Greenwood. Regarding the snow storage areas, as I discussed, well, they're actually on this plan too. Probably better to see it on this plan, it's a little easier. If there's larger snow, I know Mr. Quintal had some question about putting snow storage over the guardrails. Essentially, what the procedure will be is the vehicles that are not leased will be stored back here and back here, and the ones that will be circulated, if you will, in the winter months will be stored closer to the building. So essentially, during snow events, they're okay with plowing some of the leased vehicles in. We had talked about leaving a swath of pavement, basically, in case of fire, to get to the back vehicles, and not vehicles, trailers rather. So we're showing that as well. And again, if there's any trailers there, then they'll just be essentially buried, right, and not moved. And if they need to move them, they'll move them. And if there's excess snow, then they'll truck it off site. So that's in general the plan for the snow. Septic system, we moved it, we did some testing, and with the septic designer, They had proposed a few places in the general area of where this parking lot is here. The soils weren't great, so we pushed it up further up here and put it underneath the lawn area, which seemed to work better, both for grading and also for the contours for groundwater. Landscaping, as I said, on this plan shows the landscaping, so we believe that meets your town regulations. That the proposal does require an NHDOT permit that's still under review by the NHDOT, so we anticipate we'll be getting that shortly. It also requires an AOT permit from NHDES. That has also been submitted, so that is also under review by the NHDES. We also understand we need a driveway permit from the town. We're waiting to submit that until we have approval from DOT, so we don't have to go back and forth. With that, we can do that differently if you prefer, but was generally our plan. And the bond was the other comment that Mr. Greenwood had, and yes, we'll provide the bond. The applicant will provide the bond. In addition to those items, Mr. Quintel, we need spill prevention design and details, which we'll provide. Snow storage areas I discussed, retaining walls. We will provide stamped plans for the retaining prior to construction. The downspout locations are on the plan. We did just have one downspout with the intention of connecting them on the building itself. Yeah. And then the curb detail, yes, we can remove the vertical curb from the plan. I understand you're not thrilled with the location of the septic. If the board wants, we can look at other locations. We did look at a few other locations. And that is in front of the town, I believe. We have not received feedback from the town code officer regarding that yet. And then it'll go to the state after we get response from the town. 25, details, so the plan, and maybe we need to detail this out a little bit better on our site plan. The plan for the RAP, for the recycled asphalt pavement, is for the areas under the storage to be recycled asphalt pavement, and then the drive areas essentially will be regular pavement. So that's the intention. We actually looked for a detail.
We had it just marked out, excuse me, where it was delineated. I thought we were doing pavement completely on the south side. Sorry. I thought we were doing pavement all the way
Here.
around, yeah. And then it was just the two back pieces. So
And then
basically
the
the problem was snow storage and over the rest of that would be that.
So we can delineate that on the site plan if that's needed. It'll certainly be needed for construction. So the drainage, we submitted the drainage report, and there's a comment about soil. That's fine, we can add that. And then the two performance bond, a site inspection bond, that is noted. We can add, I believe your comment, Mr. Quintel, about the under drain is to add one under the pavement here.
Well, there's quite a cut there. So.
There is quite a cut there, so we can certainly add. We do have it, like as you saw, under the building, but we can certainly add it under the pavement here too. So we don't have a problem with that. Okay, let me see. The stormwater inspection manual can be recorded at the registry. That is fine. We can add the pre-construction meeting with the contractor, design engineer, owner, town agents before construction. That's fairly typical. We'll include the removal of the trees in the construction sequencing, and we'll look at the catch basins again. And yes, I'll make sure that those two catch basins go into the isolator road as well. And we'll put the inspection courts on the plan. So I don't see anything on here that we have exception to. So we're certainly open to answering any other questions that the board may have.
Thank you. Dennis?
So I guess that most of my comments, and I look at this design from what it would take to do the installation. So when I see something that is unclear, like the location of the edge of pavement and riprap, I mean, that should be clarified on the plan. So things like that are where I kind of look at what can someone take the plans and actually build it. So that's why I was looking for clarification on all of these, and I think you answered the questions pretty well. About 10 of my comments, I believe, are more drafting things. The issue about the sanitary disposal system in front of the building, looking at the test pits that were there, it did look like there was still quite a cut from the original grade in that area, and water table would be, you know, you'd be cutting through the water table and then building a system on top of that. And from the grades, it looks like the finished floor of the building is going to be 161.5, and the grade in front of the building is going to be 170 to 172. So I don't know how that's going to look with a big mound in front of the building, according to this, unless the grades that you're designing are a little bit different. I would certainly look at a different location for the septic system and make sure that there's no big mound in front of the building, but that's certainly, if you can make that work and get approvals for that, then if that's what you want, then that's fine. But on a big site like this, it seems like you might have a better location for that. So that was one of the things that I was concerned about. As far as some of the other comments, as far as the snow storage, certainly that's something that is management during the situation of doing the stormwater or the snow storage removal. So I think that that's certainly something that can be taken care of. And what was the other thing I had highlighted? Building inspector has to witness test pits. So if he's done that again on the septic systems, then that would have to be, make sure that gets done. I guess that's all I have to say. Like I said, 10 of my comments out of the 17 comments are more drafting. 5 or 6 can be conditions of approval, and we talked about the snow storage and also about the test pits witnessing. So I guess it covers all of my comments at this time.
Glenn?
Cindy's review of my comments were direct and to the point, so I appreciate that. I just want to clarify, the only waiver you had requested before was for reducing the buffer area, and that has now changed, and you're going to put up both the fence and maintain the 50-foot spatial buffer. That's what it looked like on the plan. As you were describing it, at first I thought that the fence was going to be a substitute for the 50-foot buffer, but it was clear in the plan that wasn't the case, and as you got to the end of your description, it was pretty clear you're going to loam and seed the 50-foot area. So I just wanted to make the board aware that that entire discussion has changed from where we left it at the last meeting.
Type of fence were you planning on installing?
I can show you.
You said it was 9, on the plans you said it's 9 foot high? 8? Okay. Okay, I was looking again. I did have a question about that I couldn't understand you when you were saying what it was going to be covered with, and I think Glenn answered that. It was loam and seed. Yeah. For some reason I thought I heard you say cedar, so I was thinking trees would be there. But once you said snow, you need both of them on there.
You're surrounded.
The lighter green is proposed to be loam and seed, and then there's also plantings in them. So this bright green is loam and seed with trees and bushes. So all these little circles are depicting individual trees.
Right, so I'm just talking right now about the area abutting the
Yeah.
house. That fence, behind the fence is just gonna be loam and seed, it's snow storage area,
Correct.
and so there won't be any trees there.
That's the proposal.
So that would require really a waiver from the board's standard of 50-foot natural vegetation with 50% evergreens. So the fence is one of those options for an alternative plan, so it's not really a waiver, it's an alternative buffer plan, so that's what you're requesting, is the fence as an alternative to the vegetative
Correct.
buffer,
But-
50-foot, 50% evergreen vegetative buffer, because it's all going to be just grass and stuff.
Yes.
Okay. Are you planning to use any kind of de-icing materials on the surface? I saw the stuff from DES about,
I don't believe, do you have de-icing? Whatever, we have a standard de-icing materials that are allowed in, for the AOT process that we put in there.
Right, the reason I'm thinking is with the snow storage, once it's piled up, a lot of the salt or halide or whatever you use ends up on that snow storage area, which is great on the areas up there where you have a pavement or wrap, but not so good on grass.
Oh, sure.
You have to end up with dead grass and erosion. And the other thing that's still not shown on here is the 10-foot right-of-way. I guess it's a 10-foot right-of-way that was shown on it's deeded and shown on the surveys.
It's on the plan. It's actually, so the area, can I zoom?
It's going to be part of that grass area then on the inside of the fence.
Zoom in for you. Oh. Kidding. Did I change pictures?
Yeah, I was trying to read it on my
Sorry,
computer
I
screen
know, I
and it just,
So it shows, so this fence here, the line with the squares, that's the proposed fence, which is proposed to sit 20 feet off the property line, and then this dashed area here is the 10-foot depiction of what that access easement is.
right. And you certainly don't have to maintain the right-of-way, it's just not being allowed to block it.
Right.
But you don't have to cut trees down as they grow or anything.
Right, so the proposed, just to add to that, the grading, the off-grading is all on the east side here of where the fence is. So this dark area won't be touched with grading. Essentially, this fence is the limit of work on this side of the property.
So does it slope, again, I have trouble determining the slope on that. Is it sloping up?
It goes up.
Up from the, if you put an 8-foot fence in and it slopes up how far to the parking area?
So this is about at grade, this corner here, and then somewhere in the middle, it's about 3 feet higher, and then this is about 6 feet higher than existing grade.
So
And then it's 4-to-1 slope off to where the fence is,
4 to
down,
1.
4-to-1.
So 40 feet is 10-foot drop, and you only have an 8-foot fence.
It's a 6-foot drop over 40 feet.
Okay. So that 8-foot fence, you're going to be looking over the top of the fence at the trailers.
Well, you'll be walking,
Because the grade is all up from the fence is low.
the fence is at grade, right,
Okay.
at existing grade. So the bottom of the fence is at existing grade. And then on this side of the fence, it'll slope up to the parking area, to the pavement.
Right. And you said it'll slope up 6 feet.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's, fence doesn't provide that much visual buffer, especially at that end. So, it just need to be aware that the, you know, for the lighting and for the visuals, that, you know,
Could the fence be put on the top of the slope?
that's a good question. I think that would be a better solution, because,
And
an
then
8-foot fence, and then you'd be
vegetation
looking up
planted
and,
on the slope.
but they would block the snow removal. They're planning to use that area, because it's not shown on the landscaping plan.
Well, what would be more important is, because if the pavement area is only a foot or two above the fence, then all the trailers that are gonna be there, people are gonna be seeing them. So, it seems to me that if I was living there, I'd wanna be able to not see the trailers any more than is necessary, and as far as snow storage, like you talked about, you could put snow storage someplace else, manage it.
Yeah, because we certainly haven't discussed whether that's an acceptable solution. You didn't ever mention, by the way, when you said you discussed this with the property, I'll wait till you're done. You said you addressed this with the abutters, and they were not in favor of reducing the 50-foot vegetative buffer. And then you said, you talked about proposing the fence. You didn't say whether they had agreed that that would.
Oh, it was my understanding that they were okay with the fence. They are here. Okay, so they can speak for themselves. So we talked to them, and like I said, they can speak for themselves.
Okay,
They've had a month to think about
once
it,
you
so.
get some public comment, we'll
Yeah.
definitely address that. But yeah, we'll need to deal with that issue separately as part of the waiver request.
So do we need a waiver request for that? I mean, I understand there's discussion about what gets to happen, but is it still a waiver request if we're proposing, or is it just a discussion?
It's up to the board to determine whether they accept the fencing as an alternate.
Alternative, yeah, it's,
So it looks like, to me, the fencing on this side, there are no trailers parked there.
Correct.
So we don't have to worry about this site coming from their house that way. And as it turns this way, when there are trailers parked, there appears to be trees and natural wooded area there, right there.
This.
That's naturally wooden trees, so that has a tree buffer.
Yes.
So where the trailers are would be buffered by the fence and the trees.
Correct.
And where there are no trees, would just be the building that they
Yes.
would be looking at. Okay. Just making sure I have a perspective. Okay. Any other questions from the board? Okay. Seeing none, we'll open it for public comment. Some of you arrived after we talked about how public comment works. The way public comment works is you come and, one at a time, sit here in the front. You make sure that your microphone is on so that everybody can hear you. You need to give us your name and your address, and that should take care of that. So, do we have anyone that would like to make public comment on this? Yes, please.
I'm Christopher Seidel, and my wife Jamie Seidel. We are the residents at 85, 125 West Kingston. We are the butters. We purchased the home April 5th, and to our knowledge, this plan was denied for the original zoning issues that it encountered with Pat's Auto Sales next door. Sorry. And then we found out recently that it is now in this stage of the process. I know there was attempts to reach us with going to sign the notices at the town hall, at the post office, and we spaced it with new move-in, mailing, and that's on us. I'm not blaming anyone other than us. But I bet you can assume that this is a great shock to us, and we have a variety of concerns. I'll start with the fence, right? You made a phenomenal point. The elevation, if you come to our property, where this is going to go sits at a higher elevation than our home is. So if that fence is lower, like you said, we are going to see everything. We are going to be looking up. And essentially, at that grade, you're going to see right into the second floor of our property, right where all of our bedrooms are, our master bedroom, our bathrooms, everything is at eye level with where this property is. And if there's an 8-foot fence down low, privacy is out the window, right? Lights, it's a parking lot, right? Like it's a 7-acre parking lot for an emergency service company. It's a 365 day a year, 24 hours, 7 days a week, right? There's going to be lights lit up all the time, trucks coming and going at all hours of the night, things like that, right? Like there's a variety of concerns. And then going into the snow storage, right? Like I believe what I just heard was that snow storage is going to be stored right there abutting our property. Is that correct? That light green area was where that was? What happens when that snow melts with the grade? Isn't that all going to run into my property and completely saturate my property? Am I wrong there?
So the engineers been to the plans,
Yeah.
and they've made certain that the water runoff does not go on anybody's property
Okay.
at all.
Amazing. So I'm
Just
very
so that
happy
you're
to
aware
hear
of that.
Okay, thank you very much. And those, I heard that there's gonna be some vegetation that's left with the property that you just outlined. What was that buffer, 10 feet?
I think she said.
The dark green is 10 feet, so I essentially have to
That's
get
20
lucky
feet.
that.
20 feet to the fence. Yeah.
20 feet?
20 feet.
Between my property and the fence?
Mhm.
Okay, I thought it was 10, okay. And then, yeah, the 50-foot setback was another thing we wanted to bring up, that we were hard on to abide by that, if that was, that's our opinion, or our preference, should I say.
And just to also correct, when something like this comes into town, we look very much at hours and lighting.
Yeah,
So that's in our dark sky area, so lighting cannot go off that property onto yours. And the second thing is the hours.
In what regard? do you
The
mean that,
approved
like-
hours would be 7 to 7.
Okay. Okay, I thought that they were an emergency service company, so,
Not at all, not at all. So, I don't want to speak for them, but what they do is they just store refrigerator trailers there. Trailers move
Okay.
out July, August, until
Okay,
after
yeah,
Christmas,
different.
then they come in and sit there for the winter.
Okay, so there's not gonna be any light pollution past 7 PM, we don't have to worry about that?
Light, am I correct, the dark sky says that it's not supposed to
Yeah.
leave the property?
But there,
You will
because
see
of that
some.
elevation change, when the lights are on, even if they're down shielded, you are going to see, areas of light. You'll see the fixtures. They've shown, photometrics that show where it stops emitting at their property boundaries, but you're still going to see
Okay,
a fixture.
okay. And trailers, naturally, with the fence being lower than the parking lot, it's gonna be there.
Yeah, but at least with the trailers are parked, there will be a wooded buffer as well.
Okay. And there's not going to be any trailers stored on the side abutting my garage that you see there, the southern part of that image?
Correct.
We'll have them, when they come back, we'll have them go back and show exactly where the trailers are being stored again.
Okay,
That was something that we had talked about previously, so they did not repeat it tonight.
okay, that makes sense.
Does the fence go all the way to the end of our property, or is it just half? Because that would be weird.
I think it went all the way through.
It goes, you can see the little squares. You see the squares?
So like where the,
So it looks like it dead ends in the tree.
Yeah, it ends, just before where the trailer storage stops.
Okay, so,
Where
it goes in the middle.
So it goes to where the storage storage stops. Oh, Dennis?
Over there.
didn't know where that came from.
I was pointing,
Oh,
the
okay.
end of the fence.
Yeah, so the end of the fence, and the trailers will not be stored beyond that point.
Understood. When we met, with them a month ago or so, I think they mentioned potentially moving it all the way just to like the cemetery, just so it wasn't like cut in half.
because there's gonna be now
Rather than have, like,
a white vinyl fence in our house that runs
That's just like half.
halfway through our backyard essentially, and then just stops. It's kind of just gonna be, I mean, the thing for us is it's our first home we bought, you know, obviously our personal things don't weigh too heavily here, but it's, the property value of our home is gonna plummet due to this, the quality of our life, it's a diesel truck company. There's a mass amount of concerns that I just wanna make sure we're not gonna hinder our health, our lifestyles, our everything like that, and never mind our futures because of the, like I said, the decrease in property value that we're probably gonna hit when there's going to be 50-foot trailers in our backyard now.
The one advantage of having the fence stop there is that beyond there, because of the wetlands, it's natural area, so you'll at least have some view from the lower part of your property near the graveyard of a natural backdrop to going into a vernal pool. So I would not, quite frankly, if it was me, I would not want the fence to continue blocking, because it's kind of an eyesore in itself, and blocking your view of the natural area.
Yeah, it's like I said, like you just mentioned, it's an eyesore regardless, right? So why not make the eyesore look a little elegant to make it look complete, right? Like it's,
Yeah.
They have difficulty installing in the wetland area
but it's, yeah, I mean, I don't know.
without
Like I said,
disturbing wetlands.
I mean, there's a fence there right now. It's just see-through.
yeah, we have a fence on our
Oh,
property.
on your side, yeah,
It's just a chain link fence.
right, yes.
Like, so, I mean, I'm happy to hear that there's gonna be woodlands that are not touched for in a 20-foot buffer. Hopefully that's gonna buy us some sort of the natural aspect, natural aesthetic to our home. But I don't know if there's anything that can be addressed for, you know, my well sits on the corner of our property, abutting us. I have a drilled well right on the corner of the property. Like, is there a monitoring, I see the monitoring well on the north side of my property, but is there, right, my well is before the monitoring well, right? Is there any risk of my water being contaminated through residual fuels, like refrigeration trucks? Like, I know that they use coolant and things like that, so they're DEF fuel, all this stuff. I'm just,
That was also addressed at the previous meetings. And I believe you have a handle on that?
I'm sorry?
I believe that we have regulations in place and engineering plans in place to help prevent that.
Can't they see it on YouTube? Go
Yeah,
back to-
you can go back on
You can go
YouTube.
back and listen to the previous meeting on YouTube.
do you know the dates of the meetings, or are they outlined somewhere
On our
this
website.
project information?
Third meeting in June, the third meeting in July, and the third, this meeting.
Third Tuesday. of the
Third
month.
Tuesday of the month.
Third Tuesday
Yeah.
of the month.
Thank you, Emily.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That will be helpful to you when you see what they've presented to us already. We've gone through some of your concerns.
Yeah.
And they were expressed here as well, so it's
Yeah,
not,
and I mean, it's like I said, we bought the house in April, and we wouldn't have moved in if we knew that this was occurring, to be quite frank.
they're probably gonna be pretty good neighbors, but you'll find that out, I'm sure.
Say that again?
I said, I don't doubt that they would be good neighbors. They've really done a lot to aesthetically make the property good. And Kingston's environmental regulations are pretty strict.
Okay.
So, and so far, they've met all those criteria.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm all for supporting businesses. This is impacting my personal life, and I wanna get the most minimal impact I can, and I'm gonna not go down without fighting, right? I'm not gonna go down without voicing my opinion. So
That's what we've tried to do as well, recognizing the fact that you did purchase a property in the commercial zone.
yeah.
And you can, therefore, commercial properties can legally be placed adjacent to you. But when we look at it, we do have certain criteria in effect to help protect residential abutters to commercial properties. And so far, they've been very good about meeting all of our requirements.
I just think the way it was sold to us, which is on nobody here, it was sold to us in a way that like this was denied and it's never gonna happen again. So we just went into it with that mindset, and then the law changed this past year, so it was.
Well, we're sorry, the law did change prior to you purchasing the property, but unfortunately, you were misled, and that has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, no, I know,
Absolutely.
just wanted to bring that to light.
can I just ask for clarification, is it accurate that you had indicated you prefer the fence as opposed to the natural woods that were there?
The alternative to the fence would be no fence, but instead of that light green area that's gonna be grass that you're not gonna see, there would have to be 50% evergreens and 50% deciduous, you know, or at least 50% evergreen, so that it would shield you from the visual effects. And that would be for the entire 50-foot buffer.
I'm sorry, what is that? What is evergreens?
Evergreens, they stay, like, well, there's a lot of evergreens, I know that, but, you know, this would have to be specified in the landscaping plan, but arborvitae is an example, the one the state uses to block.
What Cynthia had actually proposed to us is that both would be going in, was a fence and arborvitae's. Yes. Was what I was under the impression that was going down, but that doesn't seem to be what's mentioned here.
That's what the plan shows in the back, in the area of where the trailers will be stored.
So what was the question?
Wait, where? Because I thought-
Yeah, not in that area that
So where
like
the fence is, in the area where they will be stored, that is a fence and this vegetation.
Okay.
In the area where there will be no trailers stored, just that fence.
So on the side?
Yeah, just fence and grass, yeah, there's a
Fence
side.
on the side, and then in the backyard would be fence and vegetation. So the question was,
Would you rather we not have a fence?
yeah, would you rather, just,
She's just wondering what your question.
the question, I guess, is would you rather have it, given that that's an upslope, she said 4 to 1, but said it was only 6 feet, so,
oh, we'd rather have it up high.
right, so that if you had trees, including arborvitae, whatever, on that light green area, it would block vision, it wouldn't block sound as much, and probably not light as much, although, as I think Dennis was saying, the light's gonna come over, or Glenn was saying, the light's gonna come over the fence because, and then you were saying into your upstairs windows because that's all higher than the fence, which is only 8 feet. And it's down, the fence is down low and it slopes up, so, it's quite frankly, you know, we as a board are gonna have to decide on whether the fence is an alternative. One of the things that we'd use is what you would prefer as a neighbor to block the visuals and sound. These, by the way, are trailers, they're refrigerated trailers. The compressors, they've told us, will not be running on any of the stored trailers, only inside the building when they're working on it, so you wouldn't really be bothered by that. The trucks are only used to pull the trailers in and out.
And then only be a handful a day.
Yeah, and, you know,
I don't think sound is too much of a concern.
okay, yeah,
It's more
that's why I
the
wanted,
visual,
you
yeah.
were saying this is a diesel truck facility, but it's really just trailers, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've gathered is there's a 20-foot setback right there, right, that's not gonna be touched. The vegetation will be left behind the house, and then our decision is to, do we want arborvitae or do we want a
Well,
fence?
yeah, I don't
Well, what
know.
would be our preference is what you're asking?
No, it's not your decision, it's a decision of the board.
That's what I just said, it's
What
our
happens?
preference, I changed, I'm sorry.
Correct, and right now you have both.
Okay.
So-
Well, yeah, I don't know what's in, just over your border from what is there now. I mean,
All wood.
what?
It's all just trees and
But, you know, is it mixed conifer and deciduous, or is it mostly just deciduous? You know, leaf,
I think it's a little bit.
yeah,
I can't tell you the difference between conifers and deciduous.
conifers have, you know, are
It doesn't matter.
evergreens.
I'm not looking for definition, but
Well, we use it,
I saw the look.
Okay.
I felt it.
right. It's important because in the winter time, the deciduous, the leaves fall off,
Oh, I get what you mean. They're half and half.
and our regulation requires half and half, but not if they put a fence up. If we say you can use a fence instead, they're not required to put the mix. So their plan right now is just to have that light green area as lawn, and so they can store snow on it in the wintertime. And in spite of what your comment was about the grading, yeah, that's downgrade into your property, and so that snow melt would be downgrade flowing under the fence into your property. That's one of my questions about what treatments
Lynn
these.
just said that
Well-
it was guaranteed that it would.
Wait, excuse me,
Yeah.
that's the engineer's answer.
So it does slope toward your property where those lines are parallel to each other, but as soon as it hits the fence, then the contours and the grading would allow that the water would flow basically down slope toward the cemetery area, so it
A
wouldn't
vinyl
necessarily.
fence is gonna stop water.
No, the grading is down slope. According to the grades that are there, it looks like the contours and grading would allow the water to go toward the existing grades are downhill away from your property. So it would slope down from their parking lot, hit the grade, and then the grade would head down toward Mill Pond. That's my understanding.
You have to keep all the water runoff on the property.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to have public comment on this particular proposal? Yes, ma'am.
Everyone, Pam Brown, 23 Sunshine. Pam Brown, 23 Sunshine Drive. So I think most residents of Kingston support economic development, such as professional buildings, restaurants, animal hospitals. But regarding the proposal here, the concern for me at least, and for other residents I've spoken with, is the fueling station. Looking at the aquifer maps, yes, it is located by a whisker just outside Aquifer Zone B, but it is situated just 200 yards from Mill Brook, which is located in Zone B of the aquifer map, and which flows into Country Pond. And it's 400 yards from Lone Tree Campground. Now, I know the reaction is probably going to be, well, it falls outside of Zone B, although it's a stone's throw, so there's nothing we can do. And the usual prohibited uses for Zone B include automotive repair shops, subsurface storage of petroleum, discharge of contact-type processed waters on site, and so forth. And those don't apply since it's not within the zone. So the concern here is that generally there has been dissatisfaction concerning the way the aquifer zone map lines have been drawn, so that they just barely include Mill Brook, but not the area near 125. And Kingston has definitely had some water quality issues in the past. So I did contact the DES groundwater staff, and they said they could not comment on the potential impact on our aquifer or Country Pond, but they said I should ask for the following information. Will the fuel tanks be above ground or underground? And what will be the petroleum storage volume of the tank or tanks they plan to put in? And once I have that information, they could probably give me more information. And then he barraged me with several lines of regulatory and paperwork that is involved in these kinds of projects. So I know it's heavily regulated, but that information would definitely be helpful. And I'm not the only one concerned about this. Again, we have aquifer, and we do want to avoid things like fuel that could potentially damage those things. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for talking with us this evening.
Anybody else? Okay. We'll now close public comment. Yeah, we went through the whole deal.
saying in previous meetings, so. Repeating that, if anyone nobody has any reason to repeat that, that's, you want to check on that, that's on YouTube. Anything else? Anybody have any other questions?
Yeah, I was looking at the stuff that came on about the AOT. It looked like that you had originally applied through the New Hampshire Heritage Bureau and some others for studies on that are required for, say, endangered species and stuff, and it looked like that expired in April, and they said they need to restart that, so the FIS 4000, what was it? FIS 1004 process. What's the status of all that?
We resubmitted for the NHB. We received a new letter, which went in with the AOT submittal August, beginning mid-August.
All right, so that whole process is still in the works.
Correct.
And I know that they found both landing turtles, which are endangered, and spotted turtles, which are threatened in the area, and that's what triggered some of the FIS 1004 requirements. So basically, how long do you think that whole process is going to take to get the AOT approved?
Oh, they have a review period of,
A year?
initial review period of 30 days, I believe, so it's coming up to a close now, and then if they have any comments, we respond to the comments. We have 60 days to respond to the comments. We don't typically take 60 days to respond to any comments that they have.
Yeah, I saw that.
We get those around pretty quickly, and then they would then issue their permit, assuming we addressed all of their comments.
Right. Yeah, I saw that, for example, they'd said that a vernal pool study hadn't been done, and you had responded right away that it had been done, and you'd found one, and that changed. And they'd made the comment about how the town required a 100-foot setback from vernal pools, and even when you came in earlier, that 100-foot setback was already there. So I think there may be a lag, and obviously a change in personnel, which we've encountered elsewhere in the state, has slowed things down. But I was a little alarmed when they said that it can take a year for the approval process from the time you restart the.
Oh, sure, and in some cases that is the case, and also there's backlog. Sometimes right now it's not 90 days, it's 30 or 40 or something like that, so. Yeah,
okay, so that answers the question about what the status of that is, and I don't know if, even if we put that in as a condition, that we can't affect the timeline on that. So, yeah, so it's a bit like the other project, what, 2 years, 3 years?
Condition of approval.
Yeah, okay, so.
That and the driveway.
The driveway permit, yeah, it would be after you get that from the state, yeah, which you wouldn't, I can't speak for the whole board, but I don't think you'd want to go to the town for a driveway permit until you get the final approval from the
correct,
state.
our plan was to get the state permit first and then apply to the town.
I think that was the big ones. The waiver was the 50-foot setback was the big one, and then that whole process looked like it was just starting it again for the AOT. So that was it.
Just looking for the waiver language.
Which is it? Glenn, is it under the setback? You're talking about the 50-foot?
Yeah.
Is that under site plan review or subdivision or the 50-foot vegetated buffer?
It should be in site plan review.
Yeah, we need a waiver for that, correct?
Well, that's why I'm going to look up the way it's worded, because it uses the term alternative.
Did you submit a waiver request for that?
Well, we did when we did originally because we wanted 20P.
Right, in June.
Correct.
10 of which would have been right
But I
away.
don't believe we need a waiver anymore because we're giving we are meeting the regulations. the
Okay,
way it
then
stands.
good.
That's my understanding.
Okay, you're
of the
right.
regs.
They provided an alternative, so that,
Right.
I think that qualifies, it's the alternative.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, and the question is whether we approve the alternative.
Right.
And we don't need a, yeah, it doesn't need a waiver, it would be just a
A
request.
motion for the alternative, okay. So, any other questions? Seeing none, okay, we'll go back to just the board. How would you like to proceed?
Can I just ask, Dennis mentioned that there were 5 or 6 items in his letter that remain as conditions for approval. Do you mind, Dennis, just indicating which those are?
Yes.
As I am not a drafter, I don't know what falls under a drafting update and what would be a condition.
Okay. So we will have to discuss more on the buffer.
Oh, yeah.
So I had listed down, the spill number 5, which is my spill prevention thing, my concern, and it says details will be submitted prior to construction.
So that could
Certainly,
remain as a
that's something you
condition.
could put as a condition. Number 10, similar in the sense that the retaining walls, a plan has been provided, but typically you have to have a final engineered plan, a similar type of thing that could be a condition. Okay. 31, 32, which are the bonds, those could be conditions. And my item number 35 was that the stormwater inspection and maintenance manual must be recorded in the registry of deeds. Whether that gets done before final signing of the plan or condition of approval, that's certainly up to the board. So I think that covers that. But most of the other stuff is all comments which Cynthia addressed and can be changed on the plan, and it's just a matter of a checkoff for the general plan and myself.
And so the pre-construction, pre-construction meeting
That's just that's something that has to be added to the construction sequence.
okay, so
Which
yeah.
is, I think that she agreed to put that on. Yeah.
So in addition to those 5, we'd also need driveway permit, AOT permit, both state and town driveway permits, and AOT permit. Mike, can you think of anything else we would do as a condition of approval?
No. But we're still talking about the buffer before.
Yeah.
It does allow the planning board to alternate in a fence for any of the standards that were spoken about above, without a waiver.
Okay.
So it isn't a waiver process.
Okay.
It's the board formally stating that they're accepting a fence instead of the landscaping.
Do we need a separate motion for that?
It was, as a discretion of the planning board, the standard described above for landscape buffer areas may be waived in favor of alternate forms of screening, including but not limited to stockade fencing and so forth and so on. It does use the term waive, so we would just make that a wording. That we can waive it, they don't have to request a waiver.
Right.
In order to do that, but it's basically acting on their request for the fence.
What
And the location of the fence, we would discuss, and the height.
So how do we feel about the current buffer plans?
Is it possible to pull it up one more time? Because I wasn't clear where the arborvitaes or other
there are.
vegetative buffer were gonna be.
Yeah, there's nothing along the fence.
There's nothing in the plans that they presented, for landscaping plans, that would be in lieu of the fence. So right now, the fence is about 20, is at the edge of the dark green.
So there's nothing planted behind it, that's all grass?
And nothing planted, it'd be just grass, it's snow storage. They'd be basically pushing it over the snow over the
Which I
edge.
feel like is slightly different than what was explained to the abutters 5 minutes ago, where we said that there might be arborvitae's behind.
Yeah, that was a
fence.
confusing thing, because that's what I was trying to explain, that was an alternative to the fence, was the arborvitae and other things for 50 feet.
Okay.
Because that's what our standards are here, and we can do a mix. Again, all they say about the fence is that alternative forms of screening, such as including but not limited to fencing. And I don't know what alternative forms of screening would be, but did you feel comfortable with how the abutters?
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
So, looking at it from the abutter's point of view, and the way the zoning is, or the regulations are, for a buffer zone is to be, my opinion, undisturbed. And so the question I ask as an abutter, if I was the abutter, is it absolutely necessary to disturb the trees in that 50-foot zone? And I don't know if there's a strong argument from the applicants about whether they need to have that extra 30 feet or so of parking space where they have to impact the abutter. Just an opinion, something to think about. Does it absolutely have to be destroyed, that buffer? On one hand. On the other hand is if it absolutely has to be impacted and that light green area disturbed, then the next step would be, would natural vegetation better than a fence that wasn't high enough to protect the abutter? And I think if I was in the abutter, I'd rather see a bunch of trees planted there that will ultimately grow taller than an 8-foot fence, and the impact, and be less impact to a visual appearance to the development. So an 8-foot fence that sits, in my opinion, it seemed to me that if there was a fence there, to be 20 feet off is not doing the job that I think it's intended to be. Again, just my personal opinions, but I just thought I'd bring that up for you to consider.
Okay, one thing, we did have one other public comment. It was from the home under construction at 4 West Shore Park Road. It's from Emily Balkus of Portland Construction LLC. And she said that I currently own an abutting lot here, 83 Route 125, R10-9. I'm at R10.1 West Shore Park Road, now known as 4 West Shore Park Road. I'm writing this letter in hopes to protect our residential property as much as possible. I'm requesting that you put a privacy fence between our lot and yours, at least 10 foot in height. I also have questions about what the noise will be like. I know the business hours are 7 to 7, but what can we expect of the noise level during and after those hours? I believe it was discussed at the last meeting, but are there any concerns that my land soil would have anything that is happening on your property, such as runoff from washing stations of fuel, etc., anything that could contaminate our soil, land in any way? And thank you. So, our property is located within the 50-foot buffer.
So I guess
Not
to
within.
Dennis's point, I'm feeling a particular way that I think we inadvertently misrepresented to the abutters who were here what the visual screening was gonna look like along that portion where the trailers are stored, and they have since left, so it's not like we can ask them for input.
I think it was explained to them that the dark, can you bring back the dark green corner?
That the dark green was gonna remain the fence, but then
And
that there
gonna
was
be
going to be
grass,
something
fence, and
planted.
grass.
Well,
I
we
mean,
called it a dark green show.
We told them something would be planted along the line where the trailers were, that it would be both.
Oh, I don't think we did.
I don't
Maybe I
We
misunderstood that
proposed,
then.
I think that was the alternative, I won't use the term alternative, because the fence is the alternative, but that was the requirement for a 50-foot buffer without the fence would be that there would be trees, a mixture of trees, going up to the paved area
Instead of the fence.
instead of the fence.
And
And,
God, I'm sorry.
yeah, and quite frankly, the fence right now it's too low. He mentioned that goes, that you see right across it from the grade of the parking area is about the same as their upstairs, and the fence will be way below it. So I think either the fence has got to go up to the parking area, or you need the vegetative buffer. And either way, you're gonna, that whole light green grass area, which isn't gonna stay grass, is gonna be lost for snow storage. If you put trees in there, they could at least shove some of the snow off into the trees. But obviously, since that's regraded, that whole green area is regraded as part of the AOT, it would have to be all planted trees. So that's why I would suggest arborvitae, among other things.
So my question is, did I misunderstand? But in the trailer parking area, you've got the light green area, which would be grass. You have the fence, and then you have the dark green area, which I believe is going to be undisturbed with the current plantings that are already there, staying there.
That's correct.
Okay, so there is a wooded buffer as well as the fence
There
in that
is.
particular area. Is that correct about that?
There's a 20-foot, it's not all wooded, I mean, part of it is.
Yeah, I see individual trees being marked here as maples and,
This part is wooded here, but this is not.
Unless you did a sidewalk, you have no idea
Yeah.
what that 20-foot swath would accomplish for that.
Exactly.
But is there any possibility that you guys would have the fence at the top of the, right where the paving is? Is that something you would even consider? Because the further away from their house that the fence is, with a higher height, the better angle you're going to get to buffer things that are on the site.
and, right.
I mean, that's the most, from my perspective, that's the most immediate buffering ability, is the fence move up to the highest point, or at least it starts at the highest point of the elevation that they're going to be dealing with being downslope.
And what's the height of the trailer? It's about 13 feet? Yeah, I know you're looking at that, about 13 feet, right, for a typical trailer?
So if they're lower,
So-
and the fence gets put at the top, and it's 8 feet, the further away you are, the more that actually serves.
Yeah, the
as a
vine-
visual screen,
It does.
because of how the earth moves.
Because how perspective works, if you're looking
Yeah,
up,
it
yeah.
just is. But anywhere else, other than there, the fence isn't really providing much by way of screening. It does, the aesthetic is probably better from their perspective as far as demarcating the two properties. A stockade fence is a fairly neighborly fence if what you want is some privacy. But in this case, because of the topography, unless it's up at the highest point, it doesn't achieve the screening of the commercial use.
It totally blows out their privacy for their whole back of their house.
Yeah.
So to me, then there's two questions. Can the fence be moved along that parking lot, or to Dennis's point, is there some way to just leave that completely undisturbed? I would think
You
best
can't
case
leave it-
scenario is undisturbed.
Or the other alternative is, instead of the fence, revegetate that whole slope with trees, which ultimately are gonna be taller.
Which you
and
could do
provide-
if the fence were there short term, with the plan that the vegetation would eventually grow above it, right?
Right.
Any other comments about that? Okay.
It's gonna take a while for those trees to grow.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm a little uncomfortable about the snow storage on that corner, just because of the grading. And then, of course, the visual with the fence. Only because it's a tough corner. The topography pile of snow up there, and I'd be concerned that it's just coming. And again, it's not so much the snow, it's what's in the snow that you plow there, which would be concerning to me, is, I know you have other spots, but you're gonna have trailers in those spots, you're gonna have trailers in those spots, and you're gonna have nothing in that spot. And I think that,
Well, last time we told them that to have no snow storage under, or to have limited snow storage under the trailers and move it. They moved it over here.
see, I'm not comfortable with
So we
over
have,
there.
and I'm not
Yeah.
saying, I'm just saying, we're moving the snow storage over here, over there, over here, over there. We need to have a real good plan for where the snow storage is going to be, so that, they know once and for all where we'd like it to be.
So Lynn, we were talking about the slope and the grading, where the fence is gonna go, on where the trailers are being parked, and the runoff from that, location before. But now, like Rob brings up about the, to the left of the driveway coming in, that whole area being a snow storage area, the grading there does drop off toward their property, and so there could be an impact of runoff from that snow pile toward their garage. So that perhaps is something that they should consider not putting snow in that area.
Smiling like Mona Lisa behind your hand, Cindy.
I just don't,
Yeah,
I mean, there's only so many places we can put the snow.
Correct.
And, I understand what everybody's saying.
But-
The fact of the matter is, the snow will be managed however it gets to be managed when the snow falls, right? And they'll figure it out, because that's what they do now in Massachusetts. So, and if it doesn't work, then we'll truck it off-site, right? It's an expense to the business, is what it is. It's, you know, we can argue with it on and on and on and on and on. It just, if you don't want us to put snow there, we won't put snow there.
Not, is that, the snow storage issue really isn't that great a concern for AOT? They're more worried about storage.
Correct.
So there, if you change that, that doesn't create an amendment to the AOT.
Oh, no, it's what creates an amendment is if we change the impervious area on the site. That's what creates the amendment. Or make a major change to the stormwater system.
You know, I think you have a good argument for managing the snow on the site. The problem you get into is when you show it on a plan like that, and then a few years down the road, there's an impact in the abutter. Your argument is, well, we showed it on the plan, it got approved, so, you know, we shouldn't have an impact. I mean, it's not our fault, we showed it on the plan. I think our concern here is making sure that what's shown on the plan is a good chance that there's gonna be no impact to the abutter. So that's what our question is, or our discussion is right now, is being sure that they're protected, since they did bring it up.
what I'm seeing is an ice rink in their backyard.
I'm sorry?
An ice rink in their backyard.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
obviously we won't create that,
would-
unless we want that, but.
Right, you know, I mean, it just, where that corner is, where their house is, and how that grade is. And again, you're gonna have trailers there, and I get it. Where's the only place that if I'm there, I'm plowing the snow? If I'm coming in to plow your lot, there's only one spot I'm sticking that snow, and that's in that corner.
Yeah.
And the way that we have melting and freezing in our current climate, it's gonna drop there, and it's gonna be in their backyard, and that concerns me.
How do you feel about putting the fence adjacent to the pavement? Or closer to the pavement?
You can,
We put a fence there, we can't put snow there.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
basically
I
what
think
it
the
is.
vegetation is a better idea. I think that's gonna absorb more of the water, less chance of it getting into the neighbors. You can't put as much snow there, but it's probably a better buffer.
I think trees will help stabilize the slope too.
Are you open to us planting the slope instead of the fence? So we don't have to do both?
For the entire
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah,
zigzag
we'll
line?
plant the slope. the landscape architects did here, we'll have them extend, and that, to meet the regulations.
Okay, I was gonna say, as long as it meets the regulations that we have. That is a-
Right, that would, they could refer to that and then take advice on species and things from, on the height and all that from the landscape architects, but,
Right.
yeah, at least 50%.
Yeah, and that's what they did over
Non-deciduous.
here. So likely, so what they did over here is they planted, you know, the swath along the pavement over here, and then behind it, there's a little bit of Roman seed, and then it's natural woods. So we'll have them propose the same thing on this side, essentially.
So everything, it's sort of like reinstating the 50-foot buffer.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
It'll look pretty.
It will, quite frankly, if it was me, I'd want trees instead of a big white wall.
Yeah, it'll take a while for it to grow, but
Because with the abutters left, there was a fence, and now there's not gonna be a fence.
You can give them a call, tell them to look at YouTube. They should watch it on YouTube anyways.
they're probably home watching it now.
Oh, I didn't get that.
I guarantee you, if that was me, I wouldn't have left this meeting.
I know.
Turn it on.
So, is this something that we need to wait for another plan? Is this something we think we can approve the conditions?
I would, make the case that we
Landscape.
just include it as a condition.
And I would agree with that.
What are we doing about the snow
That would be them.
on that corner?
We can revise the plan to not show the snow on that corner.
I just won't put it there.
You're talking about to the left of the drive coming in,
Mhm.
is correct, not
Oh,
the slope off of.
No, the slope on the backside, I'm not so concerned with. It's that one spot there where it definitely
down.
drops down into their yard.
Oh, up here,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, the backside there, it drops into the pond, but that there, it goes right into their yard.
I would say that anybody that's gonna plow this area is not gonna plow snow in that area at all. They're all gonna push it down this way.
There's gotta be trailers there.
But there's trailers here too. How are they gonna go beside the trailers?
Trailers stop.
They must have a plan, they've done this for a while, how to plow around trailers. People, used car dealers and everybody else has to deal with this all the time.
Yeah, but they're gonna come in this driveway and they're gonna plow this way. They're not gonna plow this.
They've got to push it.
Yeah, we should. So, do we have a motion?
I would like to make a motion to approve, the proposal at 83 Route 125, map R10, lot 9, with the following conditions. Approval, of the New Hampshire DOT access permit and Kingston driveway permit. The DES alteration of terrain permit. Specific to Dennis Quintal's, letter to the board dated September 17th, 2024, items number 5, 10, 31, 32, and 35. And that the 50-foot vegetative buffer is reinstated on land, along the abutters property.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Oh, wait,
Oh, wait a minute, Dennis?
Did you wanna say no snow on that left-hand side as well?
And that no snow is shown, on the plan for storage.
No storage.
On the left-hand side, the snow falls where it falls, but don't store it on the left-hand side.
And probably we should specify that the 50-foot buffer is on the, what's the lot number next to it? Just that one property, because it's 50-foot most of the way around here because of the residential properties. Sorry. The Webbers?
Yeah, so tax map R10 lot 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have a second? We have a second.
Had a second, yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Welcome to Kingston.
Okay. Hearing number 2 is the property of 13 Danville Road and Drew Lane. The property owners are Mark Nason and Carrie Eden. This is the second public hearing. We're at map U5, lot 2, and the zone is single-family residential aquifer. This is a proposal to subdivide the existing property containing 6.02 acres into 2 residential lots utilizing the frontage at Danville Road and Drew Lane. The frontage on Danville Road is 200 feet, and the proposed lot size is 3.02 acres. The frontage on Drew Lane is 217.41 feet and will contain 3 acres. I believe we referred this to council at our last meeting. Did we have a response from town council?
Is it, did she designate it as open so we don't have to go into non-public?
Yes, there's no reason to go into non-public session for this. She was adamant that the plan from the 1970s that portrayed a cul-de-sac that became the property of the town of Kingston absolutely bestowed upon this lot the frontage found along that cul-de-sac. So she slapped me repeatedly. And I had a couple of follow-up questions. For her, and she slapped me back on those as well.
Okay.
So, and it's all upon the fact that the town recorded that plan as to be built, and it's
The town's fault that it didn't get built.
for whatever reason it didn't get built that way. That is indeed how the town approved it.
Okay. That certainly makes a difference.
Yeah, and I don't want to portray in any way that it was a closed decision. Yeah, even when I tried to make it a closed decision, there was no question in her mind.
Okay. So it sounds like you have the frontage.
Thank you.
Okay.
She did, however, make it clear that if there was a way to facilitate emergency vehicle motion where the cul-de-sac should be, that would be a good thing to talk about. And Charlie had already made that part of his presentation.
Okay. So we have a road that's undersized, according to current standards, undersized according to the approved standards of the approved plan. Where do we go from here? Were there any other outstanding questions we had? That's fine.
Glenn, you had originally recommended
Yeah.
a site walk, and we hadn't taken any action on that. Do you still recommend that, or you think that's moot point now?
I mean,
We know what it looks like.
I took a ride back there, so I know what it looks like. If anybody doesn't know what it looks like, it's hard to have this conversation without knowing what it looks like. But I think the time for a site walk by the board itself is sort of asked.
So, Glenn, we have your comments on this? Wait a minute.
Yes, so I've removed number 2. Charlie agreed to do number 1. 3 is something that it's just the state is gonna issue a subdivision permit for it, which they may have already done by now.
They already have.
I thought that I saw that.
Okay.
So I had no other questions.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, so obviously this is a continuation here with Carrie Eden.
On behalf of our brother Mark Mason, this is their estate property, and we're simply just trying to subdivide it into 2 3-acre lots within the Aquifer Protection District in the SFR zone. And the subdivision application is compliant with zoning. There's no variances required for this. There's only a couple of waivers. One is just for preliminary review. The other one was for fees for review. And then the only one plan related was for requested a waiver to the high intensity soils. This is high and dry, really high quality land of excessively well drained soils with water tables 8 feet plus. So really don't gather or gain any other additional information with the high intensity soils map. We provide you SCS information on it, so that should suffice. So those will need to be taken up, but I don't believe we took, the board took jurisdiction, or did they?
We did not,
Okay,
so we need to do that first, and then we can deal with waivers. But before we do that, we need to have a public comment. So, first, do we have a motion to accept jurisdiction?
Yeah, I'll move we accept jurisdiction on the project.
Second? Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay, so the board has accepted jurisdiction. Okay, that being said, if you have nothing more to add, the board has no more questions, then I guess we can move to public comment. So, do we have any members of the public that would like to make a comment? If so, you need to come forward, give us your name and address, and okay.
There was a revised letter, Robin?
Sorry.
There was a revised letter, did you by any chance?
We have it. I have 2 letters.
Hi, Emily Roth, Diamond Lane. I did have some questions. I'd like to know if the highway department had done any type of study on the difference of the impact to the town of whether, because they were planning to do a gravel road, the turnaround, and right now Drew Lane is paved. So when they come to repave, which is needed soon, we're gonna have a transition from gravel, or from paved to gravel, which will deteriorate at that point faster than if it was all paved.
Okay.
Where does the pavement end right now as far as that area that the turnaround, it looked from...
It's paved the whole way.
It's paved all the way to the end to that, to the driveway that, from the
Yes.
property that has a peak point.
I know it doesn't look that way because
Yeah, I was
it's
saying, the pictures did,
deteriorated.
Yeah. It is paved all the way to the end.
I really can't answer that. It depends on, you don't necessarily do studies, and I don't know when Drew Lane, for example, is scheduled for any paving or chip sealing or whatever. So that will, as it goes through the process with the building department, that's how, and getting a driveway permit, those decisions will be made at that time. But you could check with Mr. Coombs if you want.
Okay, so, at our last meeting, the highway, every department gives us comments, and highway gave us the comments. He said that whatever proposed for an improvement over what is whatever is proposed is an improvement over what's currently there, and if it works for the fire department apparatus, then it works for us. And the fire department said it worked for them.
Right, where you're talking about the radius. But going from paved to gravel, whenever you do that, when you have heavy equipment going from a paved road onto, turning off it, that point will deteriorate faster than the rest of the road. And the fact that if you have the gravel there at the end of the road, at the turnaround, you're gonna also have, that's going to deteriorate faster than the rest of the road because of it being gravel. You're gonna have washout, and you're also gonna have, the plows coming through will rip it up even further. So that means extra maintenance for the end of Drew Lane.
Well, how do the plows currently turn around?
They do, I think they do like a 3-point.
Three-point turn, so they're driving off. I think this is really a question for Dennis and for Charlie, as to, they do a lot of work on roads, and every road has shoulders where the pavement ends and you have gravel beginning. So there is a way of paving up to a gravel interface or a wrap interface that can lessen that. I understand what you're saying, but there are an awful lot of roads in this state and that end paving and turn to gravel.
Right.
I don't think that's a major consideration. I don't think it's worth bringing the road. For one thing, Drew Lane isn't built to town standards anyway, so that's probably a tough road for them to pave. So I don't think having gravel at the end is going to hurt the paving project at all.
But that's something for the engineers and the road agent.
Well, the
for
problem
us to
is you're gonna
discuss.
have, I mean, right now you have 2 houses down there who enjoy having a paved road. So are you gonna have half of the circle paved and the other half not?
I
That
probably
is a-
ask Charlie, but I think that
We'll
will.
talk about that
yeah.
later in the evening
I don't
when
think
we
you're going to
start.
lose pavement. I think you'll just gain.
So I'd like to know, because I mean, right now the town is struggling to get roads paved. And we're doing chip seal and all different other ideas to cut back on the cost. So I'd like to know if it's gonna be cheaper going forward, if it's all paved, because it'll be less, less maintenance every year or every 2 years than if it's gravel. And I think that's important for going forward for the town.
All right, thank you very much for your input.
Thank you.
Is there any other testimony? Would anyone like to give any other comments? 1, 2?
Yeah,
Oh.
an email.
Yes, do you want to? Okay. So we did receive 2 notes here. The first one is, Dear Mr. Greenwood, Ms. Carter, and board members, as you know, I'm an abutter to the proposed subdivision referenced above. I will be attending the meeting on September 17th, 2024, but wanted to again provide you with my written questions and comments prior to the meeting, which are listed as follows. Roadway. The prior plan, which this plan is based off, shows the existing right-of-way 60 feet wide. Drew Lane is only approximately 12 to 14 feet wide. It's a narrow road that needs much improvement, but I understand the town's limited resources based off of the May 2024 Public Works presentation, Kingston Roads 2024 and beyond. Questions. If the proposed subdivision is approved, I have concerns about construction trucks and equipment going back and forth down Drew Lane. It is simply not wide enough. What is the proposed solution for this? It is not wide enough to allow 2-lane travel at most points as it currently exists. Is the road going to be widened? If this plan is approved? If so, how wide? What are the town road standards for this type of project? Is the applicant responsible for the costs? Access. A shared driveway already exists off Danville Road, Route 111, with more existing and developed frontage. Why not simply extend the existing shared driveway further to the new proposed lot? Cul-de-sac. The cul-de-sac shown is from a 1973 plan that was never constructed. As it presently exists, the bulb at the end of Drew Lane is only approximately 32 feet wide. If the cul-de-sac is built based on the proposed plan, it is unclear how the required 200 feet of frontage would be obtained. Although it is depicted on the proposed plan, the size and scope of this project is much larger and more involved than it appears. Questions. What kind of tree clearing, excavation, filling work is proposed? Who would be responsible for the costs? Who would build a retaining wall and/or grade land to keep my land from washing away? Why gravel along outside of cul-de-sac? What about the snowplows in the winter weather? I understand there is discussion about snow storage, but what about the gravel being transported around the road due to those plowed trucks? What about the runoff into the lake? The area already floods easily. Is there discussion about a mitigation plan requirement? with the walking trail currently utilized by Kingston residents as well as the Sanborn School District be eliminated. Well, it appears that the proposed plan depicts my well within the right-of-way. Is this accurate? Should it be corrected if not accurate? Again, concern over the cherry picking from the 1973 plan as to what is accurate and not accurate. Proposed subdivision plan. If the plan is not accurate and based off a prior plan that was never developed and is over 50 years old. In fact, the plan the subdivision plan is based off of even had the acreage wrong. Request, present an accurate plan showing accurate measurements, present an accurate plan showing accurate proposed cul-de-sac and road right-of-way width. Proposed mailbox, the proposed plan depicts a mailbox at the end of the proposed driveway. The USPS carrier refuses to drive down Drew Lane as they claim it is unsafe. I, along with other residents on Drew Lane, Wadley Point, have been working with the Kingston U.S. Postal Service to require the driver to deliver our mailboxes at the end of our driveway, and the USPS refuses to do so, citing an unsafe roadway as it is not wide enough for two-lane travel. Sidewalk, a sidewalk is respectively requested before any potential approvals are issued by the town. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, signed Scott Chevalier, trustee. And then Susan Brindamore also had comments along with Scott Chevalier. I have a concern about further soil erosion on our driveway. A site plan walk would be helpful. And she's at number 11 Drew Lane. Okay.
I have a question.
Okay.
What is before us is whether or not to get lots subdivided into 2 lots. All this other stuff, very relevant, don't get me wrong, and it needs to be addressed, no question. But I don't think that's within our purview this evening.
Correct.
Because once we agree to the 2 lots, then all that goes down to the building inspector. They're gonna, the landowners are gonna map it out. They're gonna figure out what they're gonna have their home, their driveway, to get the permits, the road. They're gonna have to work with the highway department to see what's gonna happen there. All those issues need to be decided after we approve the separation of the 2 lots, the subdivision of the 2 lots. Because we don't have any plans. I don't think the homeowners, the landowners have any plans yet. It's too soon for that. However, those questions need to be addressed. I don't want to diminish any of the comments by the prior speakers. The roads, the mailboxes, the construction, all that has to be addressed, but that's not before us this evening.
Right, that's, one question I had, Glenn, this had a state subdivision permit yet or not?
Yes.
Yes.
It did, right, that's what I thought I remember.
The 2 lot proposal
Right.
is an approved
State subdivision,
Peter.
right. Oh, there it is, okay, good.
Yeah.
And I agree with Ellie that the technical aspect, and we talked a lot about the grade of the road and all that kind of stuff, and that's all stuff that is worked out usually at a subdivision. Obviously, this happened in the 70s, and it never got built to plan. That's not the property owner's fault. I think the legal issue is the one that got answered. All the other stuff has to do with building permits and driveway permits and things like that. I understand that we do have to figure out some way of creating access, and it's got to be.
That's the only thing I wanted to make sure the board understood.
Understood, yeah.
There is a proposal for that, and that's something that the board needs to.
We definitely need to discuss that, because that's a change.
And come up with some sort of idea as being appropriate.
Right. So that,
Yeah.
and I think there's one question, at least, that in the first email that we read, that is easy to answer, and that was why it can't come up from Danville Road, because it's already a shared driveway. Well, that doesn't solve the problem of the frontage access requirement that is in our zoning laws, and so that would not be a possible solution.
Okay, is there any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. So, Charlie, you want to, and Carrie, you want to come back?
The board may want to have Charlie review again
because we really didn't touch on it much last time, their proposal for, access for that lot with the
And just so that the public understands,
historic front.
we were concerned about the road, the fact that it was an older plan and that sort of thing, and it went to town council. And our town legal counsel has told us that they have the frontage, and because that is an approved plan by the state of New Hampshire, they can indeed have that subdivided into a lot, and if it meets the other town requirements for building permit, they can get a building permit and build on it. So, just so you know, that's a moot point at this point, simply because that's what our legal counsel has advised us.
But the applicant still you have a long road ahead of you to get the 2 house lots approved.
Yes.
And maybe not, maybe you have some wonderful things happening and I don't know about it.
Yeah, they still have to go through the whole building lot process.
Right.
We're just doing a subdivision process to allow for the lot to exist. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so
If you would review the road, please.
It's a proposal for 1 additional house lot on a roadway that currently serves 8 to 10 homes, okay? And I understand the concerns. It is a thin roadway. It's about 13 feet or so with some narrow gravel shoulders off of that. You can pass one parts into another. Yeah, we'll have construction trucks coming up and down the road when they build the house. But anybody on that road could also do a remodel on their home. They could put an addition on and have the same kind of vehicles coming up and down that road, and they're not prohibited from doing that, nor should Kerry be with this lot. So prior to putting together our plan, our submittal, Kerry and I both knew that the turnaround area at Brew Lane was substandard and limited. So she allowed me to meet with the fire chief and the road agent to see if there's anything we could do in the spirit of cooperation to address that. And what we came up with my on-site meeting with the road agent, as well as my meetings with the fire chief, was to give them an adequate turnaround. What they initially wanted was the chief gave me several examples of T-turns, and I tried to apply that. It was they didn't lay out very well. It was kind of awkward, and so what I came up with was just doing a traditional turnaround. And so what I had asked the chief for was to give me the largest fire apparatus that you would have come down that roadway to service the development, and I'll make sure that we can put in something that would handle that. As you know, with NFPA standards, we can do driveways 20 feet wide. There's a requirement for the amount of gravel. So basically, kind of considering all those things, we came up with this turnaround, expanding the little bit of a cul-de-sac that there's now. It's nothing but a small bulb. Adding some gravel, be obviously at the same elevation as a paved roadway for an easy transition. And it's large enough to support that largest fire apparatus. It's actually about 47 feet in diameter, which is typical for, I think Hampstead has a 47-foot outside turning radius on their pavement because of just such turning requirements. So this is going to be, the cost is going to be borne by Kerry, okay? We did kick around the idea of pavement. That brings it up to another level of expense, okay? And with what we're doing here, this satisfies the fire chief and the road agent as a gravel turnaround with their gravel specs. And Dennis has asked for that to be put on the plan. We've had it on a number of other plans when we did driveways that had to be the NFPA spec. We'll use that same spec for this. It'll be compacted gravel. That compacted gravel, once in place, is something that can be paved on. We would ask the board to accept this as it's proposed as a gravel turnaround. If they want pavement, if the town wants pavement, perhaps that's a cost that can be borne by the town or a cost share with the residents on the street. I think it's unfair to ask Kerry to provide a complete gravel and paved turnaround here when we're only adding one home onto a street that's already servicing 8 to 10 homes. I think what we're doing is fair. I think it provides a nice measure of safety for the people that live there now. It also will provide a better level of service. They talk about postal trucks maybe not coming down the road because they couldn't turn around. Now they'll be able to turn around and they can have their mailboxes. Now they'll have better UPS service, all that sort of thing. So that's basically my take on it, okay? I think we satisfied not the most two important people, but the two people that would really need this roadway upgraded safe access, the road agent and the fire chief.
Any questions from the board? Seeing none. Dennis, Glenn, anything to add?
I have nothing to add.
Well, I submitted my comments, and obviously from the conversation tonight, a lot of my comments are based on, making the road better than what it is. But the only concern I would have at this point is that with this added driveway, vegetation will change, the cuts and grades, drainage could be something that should be addressed, and perhaps that's something Charlie could address somehow with some sort of a leaching catch basin, or maybe work with the road agent on dealing with something like that. And maybe you've already talked about that with them, but I don't know. That's certainly something that I would say something that I would be concerned with at this point in time. I haven't been to the site, so I can't evaluate.
So you're
that.
just talking about the bulb cul-de-sac area, or you're talking about the entire road?
No, I'm just saying that right now the drainage runs down through there. They're gonna be cutting the grades down, and they're gonna be adding a driveway and now the water that runs from the house and the driveway is gonna be added to the existing drainage that runs across this road.
Okay.
And is that gonna impact the abutter down the slope toward the lake? And if that's the case, somehow that should be captured. And the soils are great out there, there's no question about that. Perhaps that's not gonna be an issue. Again, that's certainly something you can take a look at, but I would be concerned if I was in a butter downslope from where that proposed turnaround is gonna be. Okay. So I guess that's really my only comment at this point in time, along with my other comments that you could ignore.
Charlie?
So, unfortunately, we never had a chance to address Dennis's comments or Glenn's comment because the opinion from the town attorney came fairly late, and I wouldn't have had time to address these and resubmit. But honestly, I'm glad I'm here, just hearing the conversation before we try to address these. I don't think to create some sort of stormwater management on this is going to be difficult. Like I said, these soils are excessively well drained. It's beach sand basically out there. Simple infiltration, as Dennis said, maybe a simple catch basin or leaching basin in the middle of the area, or maybe it's infiltration stone off to the side of it, something like that. I don't think it's a big ask to add a little bit more here to capture some of that stormwater runoff. As far as the house, we do have on the plan set, as we have been doing in the past with subdivisions, even on street frontage subdivisions, we're adding stormwater management to the homes, whether it's going to be gutters into dry wells or infiltration trenches or drip line trenches, things like that, or rain guards. We've proposed pretty much a nice option for anything that goes on this lot, and I like to keep that as an option. You never know if someone's going to have a home with a lot of different roof lines where it's really difficult to capture that with gutters, rather that's maybe an easy drip line trenches, or someone does a really simple cave-style box of the home, and it's just a couple gutters on either side, and they capture it into a dry well. So, but that is in place, so I don't anticipate additional runoff coming down from the house. That'll be captured up at the house site. The driveway, we could do infiltration trenches on either side of the driveway and capture some of that stormwater flow before it even gets down to the cul-de-sac. And then, as I said, probably a fairly simple solution for the area of the cul-de-sac that we're expanding on. And as far as slope stabilization, pretty straightforward. This is a nice 3-to-1 slope off the side of this proposed bulb, and it's once it's loamed and seeded and stabilized, then we should be all set.
Is that something that we need to see the plans before we approve this, or is that something that gets approved as it goes through the building process?
I still think it's the building process. I think we're just approving a second floor.
Yeah.
The approval that the engineer reviews.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, I think that,
Stormwater management plan is proposed, right?
especially since this is unusual in that most of this slope work is going to be done on town property. And they're doing it, That's one of the things that makes a big difference, I think. I think we could do a condition of approval that would say that this runoff capture would be in accordance, approved by the town engineer. I think that would be a simple.
Well, whereas Dennis hasn't been to the site, I could always have a meeting with him as well as the road agent and just come up with a fairly.
I think this should actually, I think that should happen, and I think that would result in giving Charlie the guidance to do what he needs to do on the plan. But then I think the board needs to see that final plan. Otherwise, we're saying.
Yeah, we're just passing it down the road,
Yeah, which doesn't seem like our typical subdivision review process.
Right, yeah.
That's why I asked.
It's one of those check boxes.
Typical process.
But if you have an attorney's ruling, that house.
That's just the frontage.
That just said the frontage.
That only regards the frontage. It doesn't regard stormwater management, which is something we do review in all subdivisions.
I agree with you on that. I mean, stormwater is different, but I'm not sure I don't think that's what's before us. Do we approve it or not? And can we say that part of the conditional approval with stormwater management, I think is a given, but you can put it in the motion. It's not I'm not opposed to stormwater management at all. Just saying we can't regulate the whole lot.
But we do, and that's, all the subdivisions we've approved here have had very detailed stormwater management plans.
Dennis would have had the chance to look at it and comment on, and bring those comments to the board.
But I just see this being different. This is one house lot, and we're just improving an area. There's a slight cut into that slope that's there now, and like I said, it's a 3-to-1 slope. I see this being a very simple stormwater solution. This is not going to be, we're not going to be looking at some sort of enormous.
No, it's not a major plan.
Basin with outlet structures and things like that. It's very simple. And I think, like I said, if I meet with the road agent, Dennis at site, we can come up with something that would address it quite easily.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go.
My comment is that the road agent was out there. The road agent took a look at it. He's very knowledgeable about road construction and drainage since all the time that he spent here with the planning board. So I think certainly Charlie can meet with him, even if it's during the process, which a lot of times that's what happens. When you're building something and you're creating something, things change. You can draw something on the plan and have full intentions of it, but when you're actually doing the work, maybe that drainage structure should be over here instead of over there, type of thing. So they probably could work it out themselves. And whether I'm involved or not, it probably doesn't really matter, where the soils are so good out there, that I think that during the process, it can be worked out with the road agent and the contractor who's doing the actual work. But that's certainly up to the board. If you want to have me go out there, I certainly can take a look at it, but again, we're just trying to try to put something on paper that is it gonna work? Well, Charlie can draw anything, but whether it's gonna work or not, that's another situation, right?
Okay. Any other questions on that topic? Seeing none, we do have 3 waiver requests. The first one is, please accept this letter as a formal request to waive subdivision review regulation article 905.14A.2.d and subdivision fee schedule, subdivision fee schedule A, requiring the establishment of a $5,000 engineering review account and to accept a $1,500 engineering review account instead. This is an application for a subdivision proposal. The proposal is to subdivide one parcel of land into 2 lots utilizing the existing frontage on Danville Road and Drew Road. There are no new proposed roadways, and one of the lots already supports an existing dwelling. As such, any engineering review would be minimal. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, we're moving, we reduce the engineering fee from $5,000 to $1,500 as long as Yeah, I'm moving that we reduce the engineering fee from $5,000 to $1,500. Dennis, does that cover your work and time?
I would hope so.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? We have a waiver for the mandatory preliminary review. Please accept this letter as a formal request to waive subdivision review regulation Article 905.4A requiring a mandatory preliminary review. This is an application for a subdivision proposal. The proposal is to subdivide one parcel of land into 2 lots utilizing the existing frontage on Danville Road and Drew Road. There are no new proposed roadways, and one of the lots already supports an existing dwelling. This proposal is intended to comply with all applicable zoning and subdivision regulations. Motion?
I'll make the motion that we waive the preliminary review since we've gone past that point.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And one opposed. And the last is the site-specific soils map. Please accept this letter as a formal request to waive subdivision review regulation Article 905.14C19 requiring a site-specific soils map. The existing parcel of land is a 6.02 acre parcel with no wetlands on site. The SCS soils map and the test pit results reveal the entire parcel is comprised of excessively well-drained sandy soils. Whereas the lot is within the Aquifer Protection District, 3-acre lot sizing is mandatory. This lot sizing requirement far exceeds any soil type that would require additional consideration for the ability of the soil to support the proposed use. Do we have a motion?
I'm going to make the motion, but after making sure that Dennis is fine with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'll move that the site-specific soil map be not required due to the conditions on site.
Second.
Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay. And one opposed? You have the opposition? Okay. All right. The waivers are done. So, do we want to make a motion to approve the subdivision with conditions, or how else would you like to proceed?
I will make a motion that we approve the proposed subdivision at 13 Danville Road and Drew Lane, tax map U5 lot 2, with the condition that the proposed lot is designated on the subdivision plan as proposed lot U52-1. It should just be designated lot A. That the plan needs state New Hampshire DES subdivision approval, and that a stormwater management plan be added to the plan and reviewed and approved by either the town engineer and or the road agent.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion?
So somebody's got to explain to me where the 200-foot frontage is on U5-13.
That one doesn't have any.
So we're making a sub-lot, we're making a.
No, that's not.
No, that's a lot that's already developed.
I understand that, but this is part of this road, Drew Road, it's gotta be 200-foot frontage.
Yeah, there should have been.
I have no idea when that was built on, or when that was created.
We have no idea.
The cul-de-sac shows 217 feet
On this
of
1970 plan.
1970 plan, and therefore.
For this lot?
No, this
lot.
I'm asking about this lot.
That lot was absolutely no idea how anybody approved that. We've got more like that in town.
Got no idea.
I had that question.
We're talking about this lot?
Yes.
That exists already.
Yes, that lot that exists already, that appears to have maybe zero frontage.
Yeah.
The original plan recorded plan at the registry shows this 50 feet wide. And the real road is that little thing you see right there.
But, so somebody had to have a building permit for this lot, they had to have 200-foot frontage.
No, that was built prior to those regulations.
Okay.
Grandpa.
I did look at all of the building dates of all of the lots, and on that 13,
I think the 200 foot was in existence, it just didn't.
Yeah, I believe it was in
Because that's
existence
been,
too, but
that's been the
but that
1960s.
building might have been built in 1958.
Oh, okay.
There were two that were built in 58, a slew of them were built in 1970. Two that I think made the difference for our attorney were built in the 2000s. One in 2003, I think, and one in 2005. And having those built so recently off of Drew Lane.
So you think Drew Lane may have been originally a driveway to that house that was built in the 50s?
It might have been, yeah.
Yeah, it could go straight up there.
Okay. You okay, Ben?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. You okay? Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's a wondrous thing.
Absolutely. Okay.
And when I say that, it's things that make you wonder, not really like it's beautiful.
All right, since there's no further discussion, all those in favor? And opposed? Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, don't talk to me, Charlie. This one's gonna smart for a while.
I didn't hear, I told you so.
Was a good debate.
Oh, when you're on this end.
I'm glad we went to town council because it kind of gave us the direction.
That road's gonna be a problem.
Already.
Yeah. Well, the town will
People
not
come
be putting in a new road. It doesn't work that way.
Put in a new road up there. I don't think if I'm a homeowner, I'm gonna like it. 12 to 50, what do you lose?
Yeah, and where they were talking about some of the wells maybe being in this, in the right of way, and the wells on town property, yeah. Okay. So the third public hearing for tonight is 9 New Boston Road Realty. It's at 9 New Boston Road. Map R19, Lot 7, and it's zoned Commercial 3 Aquifer. The applicant has submitted a proposal to amend the site plan to convert the existing storage barn to a snow bike assembly and off-road repair shop. This request will also require the applicant to apply for a conditional use permit in accordance with the Aquifer Protection Ordinance Article 201.4G. Okay.
Good evening. My name is James Lavelle, licensed surveyor.
It was on. It was on.
It's on. It's on.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Mike Edwards, the property owner. And you are Paul Lucas, neighbor. That's basically what he's going to do. There's an existing site plan. It shows the lot pretty much the way it is shown on our plan. I'm sorry?
Could you bring your microphone closer to the edge of the table? I'm having a hard time hearing you. That's it, that's it.
If you flip it up like that.
No, you need it on the table, but
Okay.
close to you.
There we go. Notes on the plan as to exactly what he wants to do here.
Lay it flat.
Lay it flat.
Okay.
Good to go. Okay. The site does lie in the flood zone, does not lie in the flood zone. FEMA map, community map, 3301. The owner is seeking to change the use of the previously approved storage barn to show a bike manufacturing and off-road vehicle repair shop exclusively for off-road vehicles. He will have 3 full-time employees. Hours of operation will be 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. 4 to 5 customers per day, dropping off or picking up their road vehicles per day. Vehicles will be dropped off on a concrete apron and pulled into the garage before work proceeds. That would be addressing any noise ordinance issues. No operation of or mechanic activity outside of the barn. No public or private bathrooms or running water in the barn. Facilities are still being used in the previously approved showroom portion of the existing dwelling. Showroom space in the existing dwelling as shown on previous approved plans to be retained as such. Proposing a 10 by 3 canvas sign on the east side of the barn. No proposed construction on the inside or the outside of the proposed barn conversion. To accommodate these changes in the previously approved plan, renovations have already been made to add HVAC, electrical heating, and so forth. Stated improvements have been inspected. Other upgrades, including such as epoxy on the floors and the benches inside the building, have been made. No storage of hazardous materials inside the barn or outside. No existing or proposed gates, blockages, etc., to hinder ingress and egress of emergency vehicles. No definitive landscape plan exists on the site, only natural vegetation along the edge of the wetland area. The landowner is willing to comply with any conditions the board might suggest or impose relative to landscaping. Compact gravel driveway exists. No changes to the outdoor conditions. Dust control is not an issue. Existing easements are implied, basically, electrical easements for the power to the building. Seeking a waiver from Article 908 for stormwater management. No existing drainage design for the previously approved site plan. No changes other than use are proposed. And all topography contours, everything runs off towards the wetland. Seeking a waiver from Article 90415 for parking requirements. We are showing 7 where 15 would be required. Again, the hours of operation and the way they're dropping the vehicles off and picking them up, they don't really need the parking spaces. Mike is here. You want to add anything to that, Mike?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Mike Edwards. As Jim said, we have Paul DeLucas here, who's representing Western Snow Bikes, which is the organization I'd like to rent the barn to. I've been very happy to clean up 9 New Boston Road. It's going to actually be a very pretty building when we're done. I am the manager of 9 New Boston Realty, so the organization that bought the property. There are a couple of items I just wanted to address, if I may. One of them is Article 110, commercial zone for commercial 3, section 110(3)K, and it pertains to light business. And I think if one were to be very broad, said bump and grind is a repair facility, and one were to look at Ruffian Snow Bikes and say it is an assembly facility that will have ancillary business as a repair facility, that's true. However, bump and grind paints cars. We, Ruffian Snow Bikes, build snow bikes and repair them. So I would argue that we're not like businesses. Article 201 of the Aquifer Protection, specifically 201(4)(E)(10. It does mention that automotive service and repair shops are not allowed without a conditional use permit. There is, number one, I think we're not an automotive, well, you're not, an automotive repair facility. It's an assembly facility that has an ancillary business fixing snow bikes. But with that said, we did complete the cup questions. You should have those, but I just wanted to hit some of the highlights. Question A, proposed will not detrimentally affect the quality of the groundwater contained in the aquifer, and there will be no detrimental effects. The proposed change in use is to that of snow bike assembly plant, no HRV repairs. There are no chemicals used in either process except very small amounts of oil and gas, just very small amounts. When they assemble snow bikes, they need to start them. So it's literally cups of gas because they have to be shipped. So you don't want to fill the gas tanks. And the engines are 200cc engines. They are very little engines, and they only require about a quart of oil. And again, it's put in the bike before it's sold. Any machines that will be repaired will not involve changing of any fluids. That would be done by the owner somewhere else. That's not part of what would be repaired in this. As I said, the measure of oil or gas is going to be in the range of under probably 5 quarts of oil per week and less than 5 gallons of gas used per week. And so any storage that would be on site would be de minimis. It's like 10 quarts of oil and maybe 20 gallons of gas. And there's no other chemicals used in the process, and there's no welding, no grinding, none of that. The parts are made by machine shops and shipped into the organization, and literally you're just turning wrenches. Question B, the proposal not cause a significant reduction in the long-term volume of water contained in the aquifer or storage capacity aquifer. None of Ruffian's processes or activities utilize water, so there's no impact from its process or activities. There are only 3 employees who will use the bathroom, which exists in the main house in the section that was pre-approved as a retail space, which is not being used as a retail space, it's their bathroom. And that's separate from the 2 living units. It'll only be used for bathroom-related stuff, excluding showering, so the impact on the aquifer is extremely limited. Question C, the proposed use will discharge no wastewater on site other than typically discharged by domestic wastewater disposal systems. So as I described in A and B, there's really no use of water in the manufacturing or repair or assembly or repair process. The bathroom that exists is going to be the bathroom to be used by the 3 employees. Proposed use complies with all other applicable sections of this article. I did read through it, and there are no other sections which Ruffian would be out of compliance. And lastly, E, a hydrologic study shall be submitted for use whose septic system is designed for more than 2,400 gallons per day. Again, number of employees are 3. If you use a standard estimate for an employee at any kind of a company, it's 35 gallons per day, so we're looking at 105 gallons per day. I mean, there's really no, there's no impact here in the aquifer. The other item I'd like to bring up is the National Fire Prevention Association codes. From my understanding, the codes that apply are 101, which is life safety code, 30, which is flammable and combustible liquids, 54, National Fuel Gas Code, and that's for the heating device, 58, Liquefied Petroleum Gas Code, which is the tanks that provide propane to the heating device, Code 70, which is the National Electric Code. Any of the work that was done in the garage before Ruffian was approached to rent was completed and inspected by the Kingston electrical inspector. 72, which is the National Fire Alarm and Signaling Code. We do have fire alarms in there. It's my understanding the one thing that we are missing and we would put in if we were approved is a pull signal for an alarm so that we don't have to wait for a fire to set off the alarm, but an employee could set off the alarm. And then NFPA 211, which is the standard for chimneys, fireplace vents for fuel burning, and again, that's been inspected by the fire department. And lastly, under the NFPA 101 Life Safety Code, section 3.3.196.8.1, we're considered a general industrial occupancy, which is an industrial occupancy in which ordinary and low hazard industrial operations are conducted in the building of conventional design suitable for various types of industrial purposes. We have emergency lighting which have battery backup capable of running for 24 hours with no electricity on both exit doors. There are 2 exit doors. There are fire extinguishers located, or 1, and there will be 2 at each door. As I mentioned, there's a fire detector. There's, as Jim mentioned, there's no partitions in the garage, so we have continuous and unobstructed way of travel from any point in the garage to the exit. The propane furnace, as I mentioned, has been inspected. The electrical has been inspected. There's no significant storage of combustibles, and any storage that is done will be done in a federally approved container. We do need to install a Knox box if we are approved, so that fire department could gain access. So it's really the Knox box and the pull alarm that would have to be added to the facility. And I think that's.
We want to address the snow storage issue.
Oh, yeah, so there was a question on snow storage. So on the plan, on the southeast side of the plan, which is along the proposed parking, there's a location there for snow storage. I have talked to Rob Healy since buying the property, and he owns the property next to us. And we have a location in between his paved area and our driveway, which he would use for snow storage. I would use for snow storage. He's perfectly fine with that. And if for any reason we had to have more snow storage, if you were to go on the west side of the property, between the large building and Route 125, there's ample area there that I could use my loader and just move snow over there.
Okay. Dennis?
So this is more of an existing conditions and change of use situation, so I don't really have any comments.
Thank you. Glenn?
I have address. So I have that this is the first application for a proposal to convert an existing storage barn into a snow bike facility and off-road vehicle repair shop. An existing 2-family structure is proposed to remain on the site, and this is the first public hearing for this proposal, so the board will need to consider invoking jurisdiction upon the plan. Following are my comments upon reviewing the plan titled Amended Site Plan for 9 New Boston Road, Kingston, New Hampshire, prepared by Lavelle Associates and dated June 24th, 2024. 1, the applicant is asking for a waiver from the town's parking requirements. 15 spaces are required and 7 are provided, and I believe that the applicants have discussed why they believe that that waiver is appropriate. The applicant is requesting a waiver from the town's requirement for a stormwater management plan. No new construction is proposed with this change of use, and no activity takes place outside of the building. The parcel is located in the Aquifer Protection District, and this should be a note that's added to the plan. It does indicate that the zoning is C3 on the plan, which is correct, but the district should also be noted. There's an odd area on the plan that talks about the Rockingham County Registry of Deeds. I'm not sure what it means, Jim, but it seems to be mixing in with the endorsement block in the center of sheet 1.
That's a boilerplate.
And that with the Rockingham County Registry, just take that away.
Yeah, I got that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Snow storage is not addressed in the plan, although they just spoke to that in their presentation. Building elevations have not been provided, but no new construction is proposed. So I don't think the provision of the building elevation accomplishes anything for the review process. No information regarding the septic system has been provided. No landscaping has been proposed, although the plan notes indicate that the property owner would consider buffer plantings if they are required by the board. This is existing construction, but no lighting information has been provided. And finally, the use is located in Zone A of the Aquifer Protection District. And I mention this just because there are two sections that apply to this in the aquifer protection. The applicant discussed both of them. In either Zone A or Zone B, if you're doing manufacturing, a conditional use permit is required, and that's why he provided all the information for addressing that conditional use permit. In Zone A, which this is in, automobile repair is just outright prohibited. It isn't a conditional use permit. But I don't think that this is automotive repair. Automotive repair to me is automobiles. There, in the discussion of the use being dissimilar, we include recreational vehicles in that discussion. So that is, I think that's an applicable discussion for the board to have. But the prohibition of automobile repair in Zone A doesn't apply because this isn't automobiles. And I think that the description of why they feel that's so is true. And I do just think the board should state that in the record that they agree with that. I think we might have had that discussion when they came in preliminarily a couple months ago to ask what the process would be for them to get an approval. But even if we said it then, that was preliminary and not a public hearing, and this is a public hearing, so I think it should be clear that we're saying that this is not automotive repair. Because if we don't say that, and we do consider this automotive repair, it would require a variance, but I just don't think it applies. And so those are my comments.
Okay. I had to look up what a snow bike was.
We're cutting edge.
I would guess, I think it's gonna take off. It's just like a little bug. There's no way it's automotive, absolutely no way. So, like I said, I had to look it up, I never heard of snow bike.
When you say you're manufacturing them, you're not welding the frames together. You're taking a motorbike frame and
it's truly
putting the tracks.
Yeah, it's truly assembly.
Assembly, yeah.
Manufacturing is done.
Oh, I saw it, and they're kits you can get.
I interchangeably use manufacturing assembly, but it is assembly.
Assembly of, yeah, you're changing the rear wheels to a track and the front.
No, actually, so these are not taking a dirt bike, or Paul can talk to this, but these are not taking a dirt bike and putting a track on them.
Oh, okay.
These are purpose built.
They're built as.
So the frames are made.
So you're not welding frames.
Yeah, frames are made by a Canadian manufacturer for us. Most of the engine plates and all that stuff are made by a company called Oshkosh here in the United States. There are suppliers in China, there are suppliers in India, and all the parts come pre-made and quite literally are bolted together.
Bolted together, okay, so. And when I think of manufacturing, I think, you've got raw metal tubes and welding together to make, frames and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it's assembly.
Kind of like a snow motorcycle.
It's a snow
It's
motorcycle.
a similar, yeah.
It's effectively a small snowmobile with one ski.
Sounds like a fun sport.
It actually is a lot.
Okay, so I think maybe we should, for the record, discuss a few, does anybody else have any other questions? We just sort of discuss these one by one. Do we consider this a violation of Article 110.3K, which says that you have to be 1,000 feet away from a similar? We need to say that. Do we think that this is
we probably should make that as a vote, because we just put that rule into effect, and we're saying trucks aren't the same as cars, and trailers aren't the same as either. And
so maybe a motion that the assembly of snow bikes is not a similar business to
Bumping grind.
Yeah, that's the only close.
That's the only one within 1,000 feet.
Yeah.
Okay. If someone want to make the motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Takes care of the first problem.
No problem. Challenge. Challenge taken care of.
And I think one of the things that would affect the aquifer protection zone issue, even though it's not repairing well, vehicles, but we're not repairing automobiles or trucks, is that you said that you aren't doing oil changes and things like that, and I think you're not doing oil changes and things like that, so I think that's the key issue on the aquifer protection, is that when you're doing auto repair and stuff, you're doing an awful lot of gearbox and engine oil changes, and there is a danger of groundwater infiltration. And I think as long as it's a condition of approval that this is, that type of operation won't take place, no oil and gearbox changes and stuff, it would be, I'd be fine with saying that that's not the same as an automotive repair facility.
Okay. I did check on the sign, it appears to meet our sign ordinance, so that shouldn't be a problem.
The sign is actually a little bit bigger than 10 by 3 as well. It's not big.
So signs that go on buildings can be no bigger than 500 square feet, and no bigger than 500 square feet.
Oh, yeah. It's not
And
500
no more than 10% of the side of the building.
Okay. Yeah, it's certainly not 500 square feet. That's a big sign.
Okay. Parking. Why do you, are there still apartments in the building? Okay,
Yeah,
so we
so
still have we have a mixed-use property with apartments and this business, and you think 7 spaces is adequate versus 50?
So there are 2 units which would have 2 parking spaces each, so that would be 4. And then you have 3 employees. So that's 7. And so that's why we have 7 parking spaces. No, there are no means by which a customer would do anything other than back up to the garage and the vehicle would go into the garage. There's no waiting area, there's no bathroom facilities for that person, and so they would literally come, drop off, leave, they would get a phone call saying your vehicle, your OHRV is ready. They would come back, they would back up to the garage, they would go into their vehicle, and they would leave. Truck or trailer.
Thoughts?
For Dennis and Glenn on that, 'cause it seems like it's you're losing any margin. A customer who does want to come in and look at a vehicle, or just talk, would need a place to park. If there's 7 places and they're all full, there's got to be some place the person can get out and say what the.
You could still park 2 or 3 vehicles right in front of the garage.
Oh.
I mean, the door is only used to.
It's a large parking.
Yeah, the door is only used to put vehicles in and take vehicles out. So if you had to, you could park. It's a 30-foot long garage. You could park right along the front of the garage. That could get you easily another 3 spots.
Yeah. And actually, Mike had indicated that the drop-off pickup is by appointment. In other words,
Right.
2 people coming at the same time.
But there's if you've driven by, the parking area is very large. You could easily designate another 2 parking spaces.
You could put customer parking designations in front of that.
Right in front of the
Yeah.
What's the showroom gonna be used for?
So when we bought the property, the big building has 3 approved units. It has an upstairs apartment, a downstairs apartment, and a showroom. And Joanne Reeder and her husband used to have the antique business. From my perspective, it's just not conducive for doing anything with. It's rather small. We removed all of the stairs in the front of it, which kind of had rotted out the building. They had an unapproved parking area on that side. You'll notice there's no parking requested on that side. So my attitude is it's just going to be used for the facilities for roughing and snow bikes and probably storage, but that's it.
So you know, there's no intention to show bikes in that
Oh,
location?
no.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no retail sales.
Okay.
It's all sold. Yeah, it's online.
Just one of the spaces that need to be handicapped? Does one of the spaces need to be handicapped?
Could be, I think that would just be putting a sign up.
There is a limitation. The architectural barrier-free code says, and I'm not sure if it's over 5 lots or over 5 spaces or over 10 spaces that you require one.
Well, handicap?
I'm not sure what the threshold is.
Not sure.
I hesitate to say it's as low as 5, but it could be as low as 5.
Something you should look into then. Are there any concerns about backing up at that location because of the intersection and the closeness to the intersection and the traffic coming in and out?
I don't believe so. I mean, again, it's a pretty big parking area, people in there.
It looks like you can turn around in there. And most of your customers, I presume, would have pickup trucks or maybe a trailer. And it looks like you could probably turn either one of those around.
Well, we've had now since last September, I've had a contractor in there taking away more material than I ever hoped he would be taking away because I have to pay for that material to go back on the building. But he has been pulling in and out of there with a 14-foot dump trailer, and we haven't had any issues. That's been now going on for 13 months. I'm hoping not a lot longer. Every week costs money.
Okay. Department head comments. From the Board of Selectmen, the Select Board has no objection to the proposed use. And from Fire, it has to comply with NFPA, looks like you've been on that. Comply with the Town of Kingston ordinances, rules and regulations, Knox box, and a monitored NFPA 72 fire alarm system in both buildings for the regulation.
Yeah, and obviously, if the fire chief or any of the inspectors have anything that we need to add, we'll add. But, right now, the Knox box is full.
Do we need a lighting plan?
Do you anticipate having outdoor lighting?
Hours of operation until 5, so.
I mean, during January, I suppose it's kind of, so there is an existing light on the building that's a motion light. So when you pull in, that light goes on and it stays on for 10 minutes. So when anybody moves around outside, that light comes on. So that's an existing, and it lights that whole parking area. So that's an existing light.
And the existing septic is okay?
Yeah, because you're adding 3 employees. I think you made a comment about that in the cup. Estimated 35 gallons a day per employee. The additional load on the existing system is 105 gallons per day, and it's rated for 2,400. Oh no, that's for Zone A. That's the hydrologic study. So did you check that out as far as what your current septic system is rated for? Because you have a 2-family apartments.
Yeah, so it was approved for the 2-family apartment and the showroom.
Right, I don't think the showroom would add to it, but.
We're using the existing bathroom in the showroom, so I haven't made any changes to the septic system.
Oh, okay.
I'll look up their plan, get the gallons per day and so forth.
Yeah, that would be useful since you, well, that'll be useful for Pedro at least.
I went back to 1982 and was not able to find a septic design, so I'm You can look, but I don't know how long back this septic system goes, so. But like I said, we haven't changed any bathroom facility. There were 3 bathrooms, there were still 3 bathrooms.
Oh, you looked in Kingston for the.
I went on the New Hampshire deeds.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, I'm just gonna be trained enough to find it.
Okay.
The New Hampshire Architectural Barrier Code says that even small businesses with as few as 4 parking spaces should have 1 accessible space.
Okay.
So perhaps that could just be shown on the plan out in front as customer parking?
Yeah, I'll defer to Jim, but we'll identify one as.
It's handicapped.
Yeah, just make sure there's a little space
Already got that
for them
done.
to get out. Got that. Snow storage?
Yeah, I don't like the idea of sharing snow storage with a neighbor, because when that person sells, yeah, he's probably fine with it, but, you know, so somebody else moves in there and has other plans, and, you know, you don't want to encumber, unless you have a lien from, you know, the neighbor, you're encumbering their property for your snow storage. I think maybe designating the area off on the Route 125 side that you said you could use might be, you know, you could designate as alternate snow storage area, or
Okay, we can do that.
extra snow storage area, something like that. As long as you can get between the building and the road. Because that little triangle on that's north of the parking area, or sorry, yeah, west of the parking area doesn't look big enough to store a lot of snow.
Oh, yeah, it's got a. Yeah, I don't know, it's on the plan, you'd have to use a scale. The west side of the main building.
There's a triangle listed as snow storage area.
It designates that as.
Between his paper and here.
It designates. This right here is. And to orient myself.
I suppose that also could include the area to the north side of that parking area.
Yeah, there's a small area in that triangle that is designated as snow storage, which is actually bigger than it looks.
Okay.
But at the same time, you know, we can move snow to the other side.
And they've certainly had snow storage on the property for a long time.
Yeah, we have.
Right, the same
area,
parking
there's
areas.
the Parking area, we've just designated parking spots.
Yeah, okay.
So as I went through the list, it appears to me that we need to add the mapping lot to the plan in the title block. We have need to put the aquifer protection on the plan, that it's in that district. We have to vote on a change of use, we have to vote on a CUP, we've got 2 or 3 waivers. We have to vote on one of which is parking, and then snow storage. Is there anything else that anyone else can think of? Okay, why don't we take them one by one? Someone want to make a motion on the CUP?
Before that,
Because
we
I
should,
think before we do change of use and stuff. Oh,
jurisdiction, I'll move to accept jurisdiction on
Okay,
this.
thank you. All right, all those in favor? Jurisdiction accepted. Okay. I'm thinking the CUP might be the first thing because so many things come off that. Do we have someone that's willing to make a motion on the CUP?
Do we have to go through each of them, or we're just saying it's not applicable?
Here you go.
I've got it.
Oh, you got it. You have it in front of you? Okay. The reasons for it?
The justification, we can just say the justification provided by the applicant,
Okay.
right? Does that work? Yeah.
Yep, that's good. Yep.
So, specific to the, I don't even know what section this is. Article 201, Aquifer Protection Ordinance. Conditional use permit, letter A, the proposed use will not detrimentally affect the quality of groundwater contained in the aquifer by directly contributing to pollution or by increasing the long-term susceptibility of the aquifer to potential pollutants. I would move that based on the justification provided by the applicant, there is no detrimental effect to the groundwater.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
B, the proposed use will not cause a significant reduction in the long-term volume of water contained in the aquifer or in the storage capacity of the aquifer. I would move that based on the justification provided by the applicant that there is no water usage on the property other than that of a bathroom for 3 employees, that there is no significant reduction in the long-term volume.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Did you vote, Peter?
Sorry, I wasn't in
Okay.
favor, yes, sorry.
C, the proposed use will discharge no wastewater on site other than that typically discharged by domestic wastewater disposal systems and will not involve on-site storage or disposal of toxic or hazardous waste as herein defined. Based on the justification provided by the applicant, I move that they are not planning to discharge any wastewater above and beyond that typically discharged, nor is there any storage or disposal of toxic or hazardous waste.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Number D.
D, the proposed use complies with all other applicable sections of this article. I would move that the proposed use does comply with all other applicable sections of this article.
Second. The discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And a hydrogeologic study shall be submitted for uses whose septic system is designed for more than 2,400 gallons per day. In Zone A, a study shall be submitted for any septic system designed for more than 2,000 gallons per day. In absence of a septic plan, I would move that we accept that this is a existing property with an existing septic design somewhere.
Well, and the 2 units and the 3 employees, the 2 residential units and 3 employees do not require more than 2,000, because this is Zone A, gallons per day.
Did you second? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. So the other thing we need to do is, have anybody?
Did we address the drainage study issue?
We did not yet, but we also have not had any public comment. So I think before we really do anything else, we ought to ask for public comment. Does the public, anybody in the public wish to comment? Yes, sir. You need to come forward, you need to introduce yourself, and that's why you're here.
Good evening. My name is Wayne Worrell. I am representing 7 New Boston Road. So we only have 2 concerns. The first one being if the board is going to do a waiver on the parking, now that there's no landscape and the landscape was taken down between the 2 lots, we just want to make sure that there is no overflow of parking onto 7 New Boston Road. So there's a condition, it should be a condition, all their parking has to stay on their lot. The second one is, now that there is no vegetation there, we would like to see a vegetated swale in between the 2 lots that would actually allow that water not to go, be puddled up in between the 2 lots and actually conveyed to the wetland in the back. Very small, like a 6-inch depression, just to move the water away from the 2 lots. That was our only 2 comments.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. The vegetation, any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Okay. Was the vegetation that was removed on your property or on the adjacent property?
On both.
Both.
Why?
Striking distance of the buildings, the dangers, we had, Joe Bolduc of Bolduc Tree Service come and look at the trees, and we left trees that we felt were safe. There were a lot of dangerous pine trees around that building. And as a matter of fact, there was one oak tree that actually fell down into Route 125 one evening, and it hit the light, and I had to go clean it up.
We have some waiver requests. The first one is a formal request to waive the site plan requirement of Article 904.15, which requires 15 parking spots for commercial buildings and multifamily housing. The lot had a previous site plan approved for the existing building, allowing only 7 parking spots. There was not enough space on the lot for 15 parking spots. Can we have a motion on the floor and then discussion?
Well, I think I would move that we would waive the 15 lot requirement, but move it down to 9 lots, including a handicap accessible lot.
We'll designate 2.
Designated a couple in front of the garage building. I sincerely believe some customers want to get in and talk to you about that, about things, and it would then, as Glenn pointed out, comply with the Accessibility Act. So I would move.
We will ensure that nobody is parking along.
And not along New Boston Road, yeah, that's, or on the adjacent property. So I would say that I move that we waive the 15 space requirement and require 9 spaces, including an accessible space.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Does anyone say yes? I guess not. Now the waiver, please accept this as a formal request to waive the site plan submittal requirement of stormwater management. There are no new structures or drainage changes being proposed. Could we have a motion to put that out for discussion?
So how is it the?
They want to waive the stormwater management site plan submittal because there's no new structures or drainage changes being proposed.
Right, and Glenn did address that in his comments, and I think given that there aren't changes, we're not affecting the permeable area or runoff design, with the exception of the request of the neighbor that runoff goes back to the swampy area and not onto lot 8, 7 New Boston Road. How do we, do you have any recommendations? Either
I prefer you look at Dennis when you ask
Dennis,
that.
yeah.
Sorry, Dennis, that was me throwing you under the bus.
No, that's quite all right. No, I think existing conditions are there, even if you made the swale along the property line, like Wayne asked, I don't think there's gonna be any impact. And Jim's made a good presentation as far as the plan and the conditions and all the activity that's proposed for the site. So I don't see why stormwater plan is needed in this case.
You're not adding any impervious areas to the site whatsoever. So
Right, yes, no change to impervious. So based on the no change to impervious area, I'll move that we waive the stormwater management plan.
For a second.
Can I ask a question before I second?
Can you second and then ask the question under discussion?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll second. Could that motion be amended to include a neighborly swale to direct water back to the wetlands behind the property?
Yeah, so.
Would probably benefit both parties.
Yes, I would certainly add that.
And I will amend my second.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I think that was that's the last of the requests for waivers. 2 waivers.
particularly
No
accessible
storage,
space. So, snow storage is the only other item, but we feel that's a non-issue? Or do we feel that's an issue? Certainly nothing we need to vote on if it's a non-issue.
Could it just be a condition that the updated plan shows the, I mean, you
Additional
drew
snow
it
storage.
while we were sitting here, so I'm assuming that could just be reflected in the final submission.
Okay. Anything else for discussion?
Was that a motion or an also?
No, not yet.
No, okay. Did you want to make that?
Were you ready to second my
No,
favorite?
yeah, I was ready to second that if it was a motion, then, you know, the additional snow storage be shown on the map, on the plat.
Have we covered everything, Glenn? Yes. And I guess we're ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the application for tax map and lot R19-7, 9 New Boston Road Realty, with the condition that we don't really have to include all the NFPS codes, right? That's gonna be done.
Correct, that's.
They'll need that anyway, okay.
Just the map and lot
I guess then the only condition is that snow removal be amended as shown on the plan currently to reflect the changes that we discussed this evening.
And we need
Map and lot number.
to add the map and lot number to the title block, and we need to add that it's in the aquifer protection zone on the plan.
And they're taking off the Rockingham County thing.
Right.
Okay.
Did you get all that, Robin?
Do you have to add the waivers to the plan? Are they on?
We voted for, oh, you have to put the waivers on the plan, yeah.
They're on, okay.
Yeah, that should be a condition, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, good catch. Anything else? We have a motion, we have a second? Did you get a second on that?
I've never done this before, but since there was a conditional use permit approved, did you vote on the whole conditional use permit?
Nope.
We vote on individual.
Each one. Each one.
Well,
I think
can
you
we
have to
finish
vote
this motion first and then?
But I'm
Oh,
just
no,
saying,
no,
because that
yeah,
has to be
yeah.
on the plan.
No, you're right.
Yeah, the
We
conditional
never
use
put
permit's on the
conditional use
plan.
permit on the
That's
plan.
what I'm asking, that I'm asking.
Okay, but we do need to
We
vote.
do usually do that final vote.
So let's hold the motion
Suspend.
for a sec, suspend the motion for a second, and let's make a new motion to accept the entire 5 criteria.
Motion to approve the conditional use permit for the Aquifer Protection District.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Take care of that. Peace, thank you, Robin. All right, and then back to the motion, the previous motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Oh, but there was no second, was there?
Oh. was there-
I'll second it if it wasn't,
Okay.
but
All right,
Robert.
all those in favor? Well, another new business in town? Thank
for
you.
your patience, appreciate it.
Okay. There we go. All right. We're down to board business. Good night. Thank you. Okay, under board business, there may be an error in the minutes, so we're going to, okay. Okay. Yep. Okay, under, yeah. Kind of motion to accept the minutes of August 6th? All those in favor? Okay. We're going to hold the minutes of August 20th until the next meeting, just to double check on something to make sure that they're accurate. Okay, We have 3 letters in correspondence that we need to talk about. The first one is Golden Acres. We're back on, we mentioned that briefly in the last meeting. We have the letter dated August 8th from the State of New Hampshire Liquor Commission, and they need a recommendation from us. We postponed that from the last meeting because we wanted to double check and make certain that the site plan was in accordance. There were no issues with the site plan.
Right, well, the site plan, the way we left it was we approved the moving of the propane tank and the food truck, and nothing else. The site plan has a two-family dwelling on it, existing, but does not show any store. And I think that the discussion last time was that there's no store shown on the site plan, and so we...
There is no store shown on the site plan.
Right.
It's historically been a store there. Where it was located is different because it could, going all the way back to my first experience in the site. Was the Buswell family, does that ring a bell? The Buswell family owned it when I first started there. And they had a store, but I don't know what kind of a store it was, because I never went to the campsite. When I spoke with the present owners, they indicated that there was a limited store that's been there. There's no reason for me to speak for them. They should come to the table and discuss it. Because then we can speak for them and consider.
True.
So explain to me.
Oh, wait a minute, they have to introduce themselves first.
Aaron Robino, Vice President with Elm Grove Companies.
Dana Anderson, management of Golden Acres.
Okay.
So, as indicated, historically, there has been a store. There was a store in the basement of the single-family dwelling. There was a store and office space in that basement. At some point during the previous ownership, the person who was running the campground didn't want to be in the basement. So they relocated to one of the campsites and were operating the office and store out of that location. The office was also still fit out as an office and was, there wasn't that much use for an office, but it was there. In April, there was an application to modernize that space so that it could be put back where it was originally located, to the building department, and which included a demo plan to remove the existing walls that separated that space into individual offices, and to upgrade it to so that the fire alarm was current and the space was set up for a more modern store and office.
So the store is under the building now? It's
Correct.
in the lower level of the building?
Correct. And so that building permit was issued on April 10th, and it has been inspected and signed off.
Okay, but it was never noted on the plan, I guess.
As far as what, and I know in the last minutes, it was our understanding, perhaps erroneously, that an updated site plan would be required and will be required
if we were to either have a second trailer on site and/or if we were going to be expanding or utilizing the peninsula, which has historically been used for tenting. It is our intention to do so. We have contacted the civil engineer who had previously done all of the septic designs on that site, which is Jim Hanley of SEC Associates. We have a meeting set up for next week so that we can go through the generation of a site plan, which would include anything additional that would be required.
Because the site plan has to match the use.
So it comes back down to two issues here. We have an approved building permit for a store in an area that was historically a store, it wasn't shown on the site plan.
And it really got moved to another building.
And got moved and
Yeah.
shifted back.
Right.
And we have a request for a liquor license.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told by the owners, again, you can tell them, but he told me that it's not a license for general sales of down Kingston. It's a license for sales within the campground. But then, is there,
How does one regulate that? Do you check, do you ask the person for their campground number? I don't know how that works.
The intention is, again, right now the store is facing the campground. There is no street front presence. There is no advertisement to the general public, and there will not be any advertisement to the general public. The intention is that this store is for the campground.
And I think any liquor license, that they wouldn't differentiate. You're selling to customers. And I presume it's an off-premises license in the sense that you don't serve drinks. Just be selling closed containers of wine and beer, right?
That is it.
Yeah.
And it's only seasonal with the campground.
It is only seasonal with the campground. It will not be a year-round store.
Can I?
I still think it needs to be.
On the existing plan, I don't even know what page I'm on, sheet 3. If the existing 3-bedroom dwelling instead read existing 3-bedroom dwelling and store, would this conversation be moot?
I think that's the whole point, that the store needs to be shown on there. And because to get a license, you have to have an address and a location.
And in order for them to make that change, we'd have to go through a whole new site plan review?
I don't think so.
Correct. It would be an amended site plan, but yes.
For one word.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I have
use.
been under the impression since the first time I dealt with this property and the Buswells, that they always had a store for their campers there. Yeah. I remember, and I think their son's name was Larry. Mm-hmm. Is that true?
Yes.
And he was an attorney.
Yes.
And he's the one who did the site plan that I remember from years and years ago. I had hair and children who lived at home. It's been a really long time. I'm not sure why it doesn't show on the most recent RV plan.
And why where it was moved, when it was moved, it wasn't done either, but it wasn't, so we need to correct it.
But now it's back where it belongs, right?
Well, yeah, it's to be corrected, yeah.
No.
So it seems like the last time we had an expedited site plan earlier this year. We can do an amended site plan? Do we have to go through the whole process? How does that work, Glenn?
It has to be an amended site plan at this point.
Which is the whole
we allow 2 expedited ones,
And
but
we've done
the
the
previous
2.
owner did one for the original propane storage that they switched with the second one. So
And there was one in 2019?
That's the one that was the original propane location, I believe.
Right, and then 2020 was site plan expedited for 2 sheds, and then 2024, so they've had 3.
Whoops.
According to the record. So anyway, it's time for a real one, which they have in progress.
Which we will be supplying.
So until that happens, the liquor license is not happening.
Okay.
I think there's no other way to look at it that way.
Right, there's only a month left in the season anyway, so. By the time they came in, that would be closing.
So we'll take care of it in the next month or 2 and get it ready for spring.
And again, there was obviously some misunderstandings on our part. We understood that this was a store because there was a building permit issued on it. We do fully intend to go through and do, and it has been fully inspected and signed off on as such. We will be going through and addressing this as a holistic camp with any of the alterations that were discussed. But again, it would be good if we could get this nailed down now, if possible.
Does state regulations say they have to be in compliance with the site plan?
The state doesn't care.
Oh, they don't care. That's just a Kingston thing.
Yeah. I mean, the state would assume that if the town is signing off on it, then it complies with local
ordinance
requirements.
Did we approve the food truck?
Yeah.
That was our 3rd expedited plan. The food truck and the.
And that was for the use of the campground folks, correct?
No, that's general.
No, that was for anybody, yes. Yeah.
Okay, because it's located for the general public.
So that, the food truck is in a parking lot which is on the outside of the gates.
I see it when I drive by.
Yeah, so there is, you can enter the campground and go into that parking lot with that the food truck is located in. And just inboard of that entrance to that parking lot are swing gates that would be, on the interior of that would be the campground, which is also inboard of that is the entrance to the store.
So, why would we hold up his liquor license for the amended site plan? Is that gonna take months?
No. They said they're almost done with it.
No, he said that they're going to speak with Mr. Hanley
Oh.
about it, so
Okay,
I will
by the
see.
next
He
week.
hasn't put any pen to paper at all on it yet.
Yeah, okay.
I guess I'm appreciating where I think you're going, which is,
But we have turned other people down when they haven't been in compliance.
Yeah,
So
but
it's a
I-
matter of precedent. I'm playing devil's advocate.
I understand playing devil's advocate, but if we made exceptions in the past, why wouldn't we this time as well?
Have we made exceptions in the past, Glenn?
Or ignored irregularity? I mean, they're here before us. We've had many applicants who told us to fly a kite, among other things. And they're trying to build a business over there, and I don't want to impede it. I don't want to screw the town, don't get me wrong, it's not my intent. But
It is our intent to do this as correctly as we possibly can. And again, had we known in April when the building permit was issued that this T wasn't crossed and this I wasn't dotted, we would have done it at that time.
Sure.
We were just simply unaware of it.
so I know we can't have a condition on a site plan that's not before us. Can we put a condition on the approval or the signing off of the whatever's needed for the liquor license, with the understanding that any subsequent amendments to the site plan will reflect that there's a store at the existing 3-bedroom dwelling.
Well, how long is the liquor license for? What period?
Once they grant it, it's theirs forever.
Okay.
How long does it take these days?
The state has issued the liquor license.
Oh, you already have a license. Are you selling beer?
We are absolutely not doing that because
Thought I'd ask.
because we were told not to.
Is it already on ice? No.
No, it is not.
So Glenn, quick question. If the owners have changed, the expedited site plan changes.
No.
Does that go with the property, does it go with the owner?
It goes with it travels with the property.
Okay.
All planning board approvals travel with the property, on the understanding that property owners can change, you know, in the time it takes to close.
But if new property owners took over the property, then they would have to get a liquor license. It does not go with the property,
Yes.
it goes with.
Liquor license
A liquor license,
to
I don't believe
persons.
is transferable
No. It's not.
between people. There's a person involved with a liquor license, or a business involved.
So we could vote for it now and expect to see you in February.
The expedited site plan, I mean, these are new owners. The expedited for the piece of property, they were doing stuff with a shed. I mean, they had no idea they were doing an expedited plan.
Yeah, they did.
The new owners did?
Yeah, they came in with it.
It sounded like there was one owner that used up an expedited plan, then these folks used up two.
Yes, we have used one expedited site
Right.
plan.
Okay.
Because
And we
they're-
said we allowed two.
We allow two, and apparently we've granted three.
We've granted three,
Yeah.
But these folks only did one.
but that doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It's the site plan.
But that doesn't make any sense to me because as we're doing something just to move the propane tanks, and these folks bought the piece of property, and they want to make it better, and they say, hey, I want an expedited site plan, because
The point of the expedited site plan process is to allow for modifications of a plan when there's a site plan in place.
Right.
And the limit of two is something that's completely arbitrary, but it's one of the regulations that the planning board adopted, saying that if you do more than two, then it's likely you need to do a revised site plan because you've done too many changes.
Right. But I think, to me, they're owed another expedited site plan, and if they just change the expedited site plan to say, hey, this plan is now a store, and if that's all they do, I could go with that.
We only allow 2 expedited site plans per site plan. Doesn't matter how many owners it has.
But he just-
However, it's a regulation, so we can waive it.
You could waive that. You could, at the opening of an expedited site plan approval process, say, the board is considering an additional site plan, an expedited site plan on this site that already has done the 2 that are allowed, and we're waiving them. You could do that.
Okay.
The problem with me on this one is, I know that there's been a store on that site for years.
Right.
I know that to be the case, but I don't have the evidence to prove that.
Right. But now they're coming in front of us saying, hey, all we want you to do is say there's a store there.
Yes.
Right? So they can get their liquor license, which is a small regulation, or change in the regulation for an expedited site plan. They're gonna come in front of us anyways for everything else they want to do. Grant them this one so that they can move forward.
Well, here's the other issue, is that they already have a liquor license. When we got the letter from the state, it was stated if we have any comments, we were free to make them. Apparently, we didn't send in a letter saying that there's no store there, so don't issue a license, because the state issued the license. So if A, we know that there's a pre-existing store, I think we're getting too wrapped around the axle on the liquor license
What are
part of
we
it.
even talking about right now? If
Can I
they've
make a
already
motion?
issued-
I would like to make a motion that we waive our expedited site plan, allow them to take their existing site plan, remove the wording 3-bedroom dwelling, and put 3-bedroom dwelling / store in the lower level, and call it a day.
Let the assessor go out there because it's not recognized on the tax roll.
Right. And have the assessor go out.
And
That way you get your site plan. I mean, you get the change to the site plan. You get the liquor license approval. You'll come back to us with any other changes you've got with the new whole site plan for the whole place.
So this is the plan that I had brought over to Glenn a couple of weeks ago, where that change was made.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it certainly solves the problem, because is the store open in terms of being able to sell it? Yeah, so, and it doesn't exist in the plan.
And there's always been one there.
Right.
That's the frustrating part.
So we're getting wrapped around the actual, on the idea of the liquor license, but the whole store isn't shown on the plan, so the whole store theoretically isn't part of the site plan. So I think just that Lynn's solution is elegant.
Is elegant.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
So I'll go have
Let's don't do that because we're not campers there.
What, is this the same thing?
This one, they thought they were the store, this one they thought back in February. Rob's gonna be out on the peninsula later in his tent.
I'll combine it.
Okay, so we have two other things
I'll combine it.
that did not get signed. We need to sign one or both. For Golden Acres. So, the first one, they came before us in February.
Well, it did not come before us, I just got it.
Oh, it didn't come before us, Robin just got it. But it's, application for business occupancy permit. So would you have a motion to approve? Yeah, that's for them. Don't go yet. Yep, but first we're gonna go back to Golden Acres.
Come back here.
Okay, we have two things in front of us. Apparently in February, you applied for an application for a business occupancy permit, and we just received it, and it's not yet been signed. The second thing is an application for plan examination and business occupancy permit that you did today.
That's what we did.
And so this is something we need to approve and sign?
It's the same thing as anyone coming before the board with a new business because they're new owners.
Okay.
The store was closed, so now they're coming before.
So do we approve
There's no such thing.
their business occupancy?
There's no such thing in the file for the business occupancy.
So we're gonna put it in the file and make it, do we have a motion to? Yes.
Yeah.
Do we have a,
I make a motion that we grant them the,
okay, second? Okay, we'll get that signed. Yep, somewhere.
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Thank you. Okay, now you can go. You must be Carrie Sparrow. We have. Okay. This is from Carrie Carr, wait a minute. Carrie Sparrow.
I am Karen.
Karen Sparrow. Here we go. Refined Roofing and Construction LLC, DBA Refined Home Services, is in the process of purchasing 23 Route 125, Kingston, New Hampshire. It's our intent to make this a forever home. Is that the old stove shop?
Yeah. It is, yes.
Okay. It is our intent to use the property as our office space. There will be minimal construction, customer visits to the location since we meet all of our customers at their home or business. We currently employ about 10 employees. However, we're a growing company. Most of our employees are on the job sites, with the exception of the office staff and the MG owner. Currently, we have 9 vehicles. Some of them go home with the staff at night. We also have a dozen dumpsters that are rented out and used on our job sites. Disposal is done at Urco in Epping, New Hampshire. After a dumpster is picked up, it is brought directly to the refuse facility. We would generally keep one dumpster at the location for our own use and store any that are not rented out or in use. It is our intent to build a fence to enclose the dumpsters so they won't be visible. I'm enclosing a copy of the existing site plan showing the approximate area of the fence. Our materials are typically delivered directly to the job sites, and deliveries would be at a minimum to the location. We don't store materials or keep much on hand at our office. Refine's business hours are 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday, but again, most customer interaction is done at their location. Please let me know if you need any other information from us. Kind regards, Karen Spiro, Office Manager. And they gave us a copy of our plan. Did you all get a copy of this?
Yes, everyone did.
The orange is the dumpster enclosure?
Yes. That's really the only exterior
Change
that we're looking to make. We do want to put on a new roof. We need to put on a new roof as soon as they'll issue a building permit.
Because it's your business, that would be a good thing to do.
Well, above and beyond that, there's all these pipes that are going through the roof that have all been pulled out, so we've just got holes everywhere.
Oh,
and we've applied for a permit last week and we're still waiting, so, yeah.
It's been busy in town, let me tell you.
What's that?
It's been busy.
Yes. Oh, I'm sure. I want to secure the building so we don't have any more damage, so I don't even care if I don't get anything else permitted yet. I just want to get the roof done and cared for so we can close it up tight.
So is this an expedited site plan?
That was the request. I think this requires an expedited site because it's a change of use. There is an existing site plan on site, but this seems like a less intense use than the original use that hundreds of years ago was a restaurant. But it hasn't been a restaurant there for a very long time.
Very long time.
Seafood, right?
A long time ago.
20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a really long time, but that's the decision the board needs to make tonight as to what degree of site plan is required here.
Can I just make a comment? I did call TF Moran, which is the company that took over, I guess they merged from the original site plan. They did tell me that this was a hand-drawn one and that there is no like PDF file, so if a site plan is required, I have to start from scratch and do the whole thing all over again, which is gonna be a lot more time and money, when the only change that I'm really looking to make is just to put a fence around a specific area.
And remove proposed restaurant from the building label.
I'm sorry?
And remove proposed restaurant from the building label.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
I mean, it's a change of use. God.
It does say and office space.
Yeah, it does. You just have to remove the proposed.
So, then another site plan wasn't done when the stove shop went in. I would gather, since we don't have a site plan on record for the stove shop.
Because to do an expedited review, one of the things has to be that it's not a change of use, but this is a change of use. So the only avenue is a site plan. Now, that being said, you don't have to require a new engineered plan to do a site review, because there is no change to the construction or expansion of parking or any of those things that we would typically want a new site plan for. But if you did that, it would be a site plan process that didn't have a site plan, or you could refer to the recorded site plan and do a letter of facts and findings attached to that site plan. So you have the option.
Do we have to do a public hearing?
You absolutely have to do a public hearing.
Okay. Can they fix their roof before we
Yeah.
have our public hearing?
That's independent,
Is,
isn't it?
that's not under the purview of the plan.
That's not an option, I think.
Yeah. And that's a building permit process. So.
Yep.
But we have to let Pedro know that there's
I've left several messages, I've been waiting for a call back, but I know he was out sick on Friday, and last week when I came in to apply for the permit.
It's been a zoo downstairs.
Yeah, he was in training, so Thursday was training, Friday he was out sick, Monday we left messages, we came here, he got called out in an emergency. Today's Tuesday, we didn't get a call back yet. Tomorrow I'll be there at 8 o'clock in the morning again. I mean, I've done that almost every day, so. Okay. I didn't know the office even opened earlier, so.
It's not open, he's there, but it's not.
Okay. I just, like I said, there are some things that we want to do to the building, but really my main concern is just securing the roof. I'm sure you can imagine with all those stovepipes that were coming through and they've pulled all those things out, yeah, it's like a colander, you know what I mean? Got all these holes everywhere.
Okay, so
I thank God.
it's my understanding that they have to do a site plan. It's gonna take a little bit.
Can we move into the property in the meantime? Because we're gonna be homeless
No.
as of next month.
No?
No. I mean, there isn't a lot of flexibility here. Other than everything is flexible because they're all regulations, but there isn't a lot of flexibility in the process. The process requires a public hearing for a change of use on site.
Can't we do that at the next meeting? I know it's not a regular hearing night, but we could do that. I think
In 2 weeks, but they're not gonna have the plans ready.
We don't have to, well, I'm presuming they're asking, to be able to use the existing one that's at the registry of deeds.
Okay.
For now, right.
Because any site plan review that requires, if you're going to require a new engineered plan, is going to be 3 months and $6,000.
So, all they really need to do is take this to an engineer? Or can they just hand draw it the way it is?
What we have done in the past, for instance, like for Aloha Doors,
Yeah.
they did a site plan review where they used George Horn's site plan, and they marked it up.
Okay.
And I did an affidavit that got attached to George Horn's site plan, and we had the marked up site plan in the planning board file.
Okay. So.
But it requires a public hearing.
So we could do that in 2 weeks.
We could do that in 2 weeks, we could have
I
that
don't
ready.
think we can't get notification to abutters in that amount of time.
I think that.
What's the lead time, 10 days, or is it?
It's really 12 days. The notice has to not include the day of the hearing, and, well, there isn't a date of publication.
The hearing's October 1st.
I think you simply don't have enough time.
So October 15th?
That's about as early as a second hearing can be.
Unfortunately, that's the rules.
Yeah, it is what it is.
They won't let you stay at Hampstead, or they?
We're not in Hampstead.
Oh, I thought.
We're in Atkinson. We've been there for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with the old Eggy's restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
But we purchased that and restored that and rehabbed that, but we're just outgrowing it. So we've rented or leased to a daycare center.
They're moving in 2 weeks.
They're taking, not ownership because they're not buying it, but.
Taking occupancy.
Thank you. As of the 14th of October. So it is what it is.
Do we have anything else in town that could be temporary for them?
Could they just sell sandwiches and have a proposed restaurant
Can we
and
allow,
office space?
can we allow them to put their stuff on the property? Just for 48 hours?
I don't think you can. I mean, I think you can put stuff in the building, because the building, because there's no visual change with that. But anything put on site on the outside, you're supposed to have a site plan that says that's where stuff is gonna be. So it's just, but they could put stuff inside the same way we don't mind that they're putting on a new roof, because there's no apparent change before site plan.
Can I just ask another question? All the storage containers that were on the property as of like a week ago, they've now been moved out because they belong to the previous owner. Are they part of that site plan? Like, I didn't even
No, there
think
was
about it
no
till
site
just
plan
now,
for that
but- Or were
stuff.
they just put there,
They just put them there.
They just put them there.
and there was no site plan for the last business that was even there?
No, the stove shop? or the one
No,
that-
because they just moved into, they didn't make any changes to the property.
Right, so
Okay.
they did it,
Well, they did, but they just didn't tell
Right.
anybody that they did.
well, no, they did a change of use site review,
Okay,
and the planning board approved the stove center in place of the restaurant.
okay. But like I said, they were all storage, they used to be all storage
But all
containers.
we allowed for
Propane.
that was display of stove units outside. That was the only
Okay.
exterior, to my
And then they,
recollection.
yeah, and then they had U-Hauls for a while.
Yeah, they were
and that was-
renting U-Hauls, they had propane, refill
Refills.
station there, that's no longer there, but, yeah, they had a lot of stuff going on. I
No, but they
literally
were
have
doing that.
photographs of the propane tank and the signs out front saying propane filling station and all that
So you can
stuff.
move into the building.
Well, that's good, that's the only part that's, I guess I don't know if this is a problem, it's not the worst thing in the world, because everybody can take home a vehicle for a couple nights, but is it a problem if we park our vehicles that don't typically go home with our employees?
There's not parking spots there, that's for sure.
Yeah, I
There's not a parking spot. I'm not gonna tell you yes on that.
I'm just not
But
looking at- I'm not looking
I'm
to
going
make
to tell you
anybody
that I
comfortable,
doubt
that's
the
all.
town is going to send an officer down there with a cease and desist either.
I think if there were cars suddenly appearing in the back of the building, I don't see any problem with that.
Okay.
I mean, we put up an ESCI guns.
I was about to say, ECSI is.
And I can't imagine in parking spaces that we're going to engage in an enforcement issue.
And I'd be happy to talk to the chief.
Like I said, I'm just not looking to ruffle feathers, I'm just trying to do the things the right way, so.
We want to do as much as we can to help you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
So, the next hearing would be on the 15th.
Okay.
7 PM.
Deadlines are
And you need to have everything into the town by the 3rd of October.
Okay, so by everything, you mean a marked up, I'm gonna take this plan, I'm gonna erase what doesn't go, and I'm gonna mark up what we want. And you're gonna kind of help me, guide me a little bit?
Either Robin or I will.
Okay.
Our
I appreciate it.
schedules work to try to give as much office time there.
I
So I'm there on
appreciate it.
Mondays, Robin's there on Tuesdays, I'm there again, well, we're both there on Thursday.
Okay.
All right,
All
so
right.
those
Okay.
are your best days to
Okay.
So-
get a human being in the plan.
Robin, actually, they're gonna need it a little earlier due to some complications of what's going on in the office, so by the 26th.
Okay.
Which gives you,
Do the timeline and getting stuff out.
yeah, do the timeline of getting everything out.
So what else do I need to do besides marking up this?
You got an application
I already did an application and turned that in.
for site plan?
You did the business.
The business,
application,
yes, the business occupancy.
They'll give you all the applications you need. They'll make sure you've got everything.
Okay. And I assume that's something that I can get through the town hall, because I obviously don't know
That
who
is,
the
you can
butters
actually
are.
get that online
Yep.
using the
Okay.
assessment data.
I have one.
And is it just everybody that's contingent to the property?
Yes.
And do I have to go across the street?
And
Yes.
across the street, Forest Street, yes.
Only the ones that are directly, or, like, I just don't know how far out I'm going, that's, I guess what,
In Kingston, it's only direct abutters or across the street or street.
okay. All right. Good.
Karen, I have an application right here.
I'm sorry?
I have an application if you want
Okay.
to take it.
Okay, yes, I will.
The other thing too, regarding the butters, we have a butter tool online.
Okay.
So if you want to just call me.
All right.
We have a butter tool on our website under assessing.
Okay, and then what, am I just giving you that abutter list, or what do you need from, like, what do
You
you?
can call me,
Okay, I'll call you tomorrow.
but this has.
No,
all the
your
instructions.
Thursday, right?
This has all the instructions.
Okay.
Thursday. Okay. Thank you, Karen.
No, thank you, guys.
Okay, our last letter of the evening, the last 7 minutes. To whom it may concern, it's from Carrie Gargill at Memories Ice Cream. I'm writing to you in regard to our property located at 95 Exeter Road in Kingston. We understand that this lot is currently zoned within a residential agricultural district, and we're seeking to confirm our eligibility for several proposed changes to our property. Specifically, we'd like to make the following modifications. Conversion of incidental use structure. We're interested in converting the incidental use structure on our property into a farm stand. The stand would focus on selling local products, including produce, honey, beer, and other goods sourced from surrounding farms and businesses in New Hampshire. Importantly, we do not intend to sell any alcoholic beverages for consumption on the premises and will not be applying for a liquor license. Operation of a food truck. Additionally, we plan to park and operate a food truck on our lot. We're still finalizing the operating hours, but we anticipate it will follow a seasonal schedule similar to that of our scoop shop. We are well acquainted with the state requirements and health department regulations pertinent to these activities. Our inquiry is primarily about understanding and complying with any town-specific ordinances or guidelines that may affect our proposed changes. We appreciate any guidance or information you can provide regarding the necessary permits or approvals for these activities. If there are specific forms to be filled out or additional steps we need to take, please let us know. I think the building they want to use used to be a farm stand, didn't it?
It was never, however, never permitted. So,
Oh, it was never permitted?
no.
Oh.
And in fact, in the property file, there's, signed by Ken Weiler or whatever, there's a list of what they're not to do, sell. And it's basically limited to ice cream manufactured on the premises. And obviously they don't have cows. There's no way they're gonna have.
They did have cows.
No, I mean, since memories. They never got that going. So I just read the history of this. They were gonna use neighboring dairy herd to provide the milk.
Oh, they kept the cow on site.
They kept the cow on site.
For years.
They kept one cow on site.
But that wasn't. So anyways, but they are limited to ice cream that they manufactured on premises. And a farm stand is got under state regulations. I think there's regulations of how much of it has to be grown on site.
Yeah, I think it's 65%.
Yeah, at any rate.
It's either 35% or 65%.
There's no farm there. Yeah.
It is literally in the statute.
So what they're looking for, there's a whole bunch of, it's got commercial use. And that's specifically not permitted in that.
And what they're looking for with the food truck?
The food truck is
because they're Lexi's. Lexi says food truck.
Yeah, that's right. But there. Yeah.
But it's zoned this. It's a zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would suggest that they be given the approval that's in the property file. They should have looked at that back when they first asked about whether that was, manufacture of ice cream was permitted on.
Well, we allowed more out of the ice cream because I remember when there was a butter that was on the board that was upset because they also wanted to eventually do hamburgers and hot dogs, and they also wanted to do coffee. And I think they were finally allowed to do coffee or tea, but they weren't allowed to do some of the other stuff.
Well, there's also a letter from the state in there where they were given a cease and desist from the state health department for the coffee because the milk, they didn't have permission for that. So they had to stop selling the coffee. I think they were still selling it after the change of ownership.
I don't think we can do that tonight. I mean,
No, we can't. There's a lot involved in it. That would have to be a site plan, and I can't, and they would have to go for a variance because that's not an approved, none of those are approved uses on that lot or in that zone. So
Just the park and getting in
Well,
and
I'm
out of
happy
that
to send
parking
them.
lot.
I'm happy to send them.
I remember buying stuff there.
Stop telling me how to act properly.
Well, but English lessons now you get behavioral.
I'm happy to send them a letter that says the approval is this, and let's do that.
Yeah.
And anything else will require additional effort.
Or site plan proposed.
So site plan, and then the planning board would determine what would need.
When they first bought it, they told them that all they could do was ice cream sales there.
Right.
Right.
Because when I found out they were Lexis, I was concerned, they thought that they were just gonna be a satellite Lexus. And so I had that discussion with them early on.
Okay. All right, so if they want to do more, they have to come back with a site plan.
Well, they may not, I mean, it's the residential agricultural zone. It's restricted.
Yeah.
It's a restricted zone, so.
So if they want to make changes, they have to make changes.
And they won't qualify for expedited because they're
No.
proposing a change of use.
Yeah, but
Right.
it's not expedited.
And they have to comply with the zoning, so they'll make that decision.
Although I like you using that former stand.
I used to buy bread there all the time. It's very wonderful homemade bread there. And jams and stuff, but anyway. Okay. Which, oh no, we got one more. This one should be quick.
What is that?
To the planning board regarding an opening a convenience store vape shop at Carriagetown Plaza in the former Stitch and Stone unit. My name is Husam Musa. My wife, Hind, and I are looking to open a convenience store, vape store at 53 Church Street, Unit 16. The hours are going to be 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday to Sunday. 2 employees at this time, my wife and me. It will be a family business. There'll be there's plenty of parking at the site. There are no plans to make any construction changes to the interior or exterior, except possibly adding shelving and refrigeration type units. I intend to get all state required permits. I've been doing this kind of business for over 25 years. Thank you so much for your time.
You're gonna put a kitchen in there if they're gonna be cooking.
Did they say cooking?
Well, they're gonna be bakery.
No, vaping.
Vaping.
Oh, vaping, oh my God.
This may be reading fast.
I'm excited about the baking.
I was too, not so much about the baking. My lungs are shut down in that business.
But they've had convenience stores there before, so
Oh, yeah.
convenience store is fine.
The same place that the other one was?
And I would think
Stitch and Stone.
that vaping would
Yeah.
vaping would probably have state regs
There was
that
a
go.
deli at the end where the Stitch and Stone is.
Oh, really?
The convenience store was right by the post office.
Correct.
But
Yeah,
there
next to
was
the post
an Italian
office.
down at the end for a while, not very long, maybe a year or so.
Is this the same guy that had the convenience store?
Yep.
So.
No, it's the same, is this the same? No, okay.
So that before us, does this need further review, or is this?
And does a convenience store include like selling cigarettes and?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I told him, was about the vape, I didn't know.
That's new.
But it would still fall under the same.
Yeah,
It's
it's retail.
It seems to me where I see vape stores now are often ancillary to convenience stores, or where convenience stores used to be.
Yep. Okay, so we need a motion for no further review, or we need a motion to,
Make a motion that there's no further review needed, and you can let them know that this is not a change of use, and happy makes.
Well, is there
Retail sales.
is there regulations on vaping? Because
Yeah,
it's
that's-
like cigarettes, right?
They'll have to
State,
follow
but that,
those.
they'd have to meet those.
I think there's a license that you have to get.
Okay.
That's the state.
Yeah, cigarette license, yeah, something.
okay.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I wanted a beer and.
Opposed?
I made dinner
Anything else to come before the,
before I left.
Just,
Leave it on the stove.
Oh.
No, they all ate it. They're all eating it. It's all gone.
It's all gone.
12 years of corn and steak.
Oh, yeah, it's gone.
okay. Anything else to come before the, no.
the other thing, we still have CIP to get.
Oh.
Yeah, and the reason that I didn't do a schedule is because they have to go to the board, you have to go to the board of selectmen. I've only got about half of them back yet. So when I get them all back, I will schedule
Don't rush, we have full agenda for you.
We'll just, I know that the budget committee's pushing for it. So we'll just tell the budget committee that,
I've already reached out to Barbara, who's gonna be the meeting for the budget committee.
okay,
And
perfect.
explain just that to her.
She's also our liaison.
Yeah,
Okay.
she is.
I declare the